2, 1.
And it's live.
From Filbert Street to the King Power lights,
we've lived the glory, we've fought the fights.
5,000 to 1, they said no way.
But Leicester City won the day. Leicester till I die. Blue army standing high through the highs and lows. Fox is always right. Rage your scars once more. Hear the city roar. Leicester never quits the fight.
Leicester till I
die is right. Oh, Leicester star. Leicester, Leicester, Leicester star till I die.
And there we are. Like I say, I'm still. Good afternoon, first of all, Tom. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All action stations now, isn't it, Chris? Yeah.
It is. And I have to say, I was actually sat having a shit when my phone started going off. And there's a journalist called Mark McAdam. He's a big Bournemouth fan. So Craig, my Bournemouth mate, was ringing me and I thought, bloody hell, it's Craig. He always rings me when I'm having a shit. Do you know what I mean? And anyway, I got off and I'd got Sky Sport News on the screen here and it was going along the bottom. And I rang and he said, Mark McAdams, but it was 31 minutes ago he put it up. So, yeah, there we go. He's expected to be in Leicester later on today, it says here.
Yeah, well, Sky Sports News have now reported that, it's been confirmed that he has signed. That was the thing that was waiting for, the agreement, the signing. So we are waiting on the club itself making their own posts. However, we do know they don't give this information to the press without it being all but done, don't we? So
you do, or somebody knows somebody, etc., etc. Look, we've been expecting it, haven't we? We've been expecting you, Mr. Bond.
Yeah, we had a bit. Yeah, I mean, we wondered, obviously, because last time there was links with Russell Martin coming to the football club, it ended up being a bit of a red herring. It ended up going off to Rangers. So there was obviously that little bit of devil's advocate in the back of my mind, whereas how's this all going to play out? But as the weeks have gone on, I mean, the rumours have got heightened and heightened and heightened. And over the weekend, of course, we were all chatting in our group saying, God, we're expecting it Monday now, aren't we? And here we are, Monday afternoon, like expected.
Indeed. And cheers, Steve. Russell Martin has agreed a deal to become the new Leicester City head coach. We'll have a deep dive into Martin in a bit, but it's a 3-year deal.
Yeah, well, that's to be expected, isn't it? I mean, the argument is, I guess, from his side will be that it's a bit of a coup to get a manager like him, depending on what we think as fans, which might be very different, down at League One level, right? And you've got to credit his agent. His agent does come across as someone who does a very good job at getting him, decent deals and all the rest of it. And, of course, like anything in the modern world, security, isn't it? If you're going to embark on a project like this, there's got to be some incentive. Would we have got him if we offered him 1 year? Probably not, let's be honest. So, I mean, that's down to the agents and the football club's feeling.
It is. I mean, I heard it originally was 3 plus an option. But look, at the end of the day, and I've been looking at Leicester's recent managerial appointments, and there's been a lot. Let's not deny it.
We're getting towards Watford territory, aren't we?
Well, we are, but no, I'm going to rephrase that, actually. I think we're getting towards the norm. Because the days of Ferguson and Wenger have gone. And can I just say, watches, yes, I did. Thank you very much. That's put me off. But I think it's now, when you look at Man United and you look at Chelsea, are we any worse or Watford any worse than them too? I don't think they are.
No, I don't think they are either. No, but like you say, I mean, the game has changed a little bit, hasn't it? You know, we talked about last season how we like to see a lot more of the youth players being involved in the first team squad. But I think the reason why that wasn't happening as much as we would like is because management has become much more short term. It's got to be instant success now. The time there to build something isn't necessarily there. But that makes this appointment quite interesting, doesn't it? Because if you look at the previous ones, we had like Ruud van Nistelrooy, you know, then going to Marty Cifuentes. And while I think there's been the intention of being a long term appointment, if short term results don't come, then you know you are going to turn over managers quickly, and that's the nature of the world. You'd argue Russell Martin, ironically, is a good example of this. What happened at Rangers? You know, he didn't get very long, but then the results weren't coming. So it's definitely an interesting place to be. This, and it's going to be very divisive amongst the fans. And obviously, guys, get your thoughts in the chat about Russell Martin as well, because there's going to be plenty of mixed reaction to this.
There is, and look, you know, it's hard to say compare anybody with a manager in Scotland. I mean, Russell Martin went to Rangers, and let's be honest with you, Rangers or Leicester, you're going to think Rangers, aren't you? And I know that's probably going to annoy one or two people, but look, at the end of the day, they're the equal biggest team in Scotland. I don't want to take sides. Chances are you're going to get European football. So I can see the attraction of Rangers. And of course, a lot of people were saying, well, it's just, you know, he was using Leicester to get a better deal at Rangers. When then you look at his timing at Rangers, I think it was 8 games, 7 wins.
No, 7, 6, was it 7 draws and a win?
7 or 8 games then, yeah. 1 win, 7 draws. Now, for anywhere else, and we sat in 12th, not in 12th, in 8th. Now, in a league that's only got 12 teams in it, for a league that, you know, the club that's Rangers, if he'd done that at a Man United, they'd have got rid of him.
Yeah.
But had he done it maybe at a Palace, maybe at a Leicester, you know, or, you know, Fulham, I don't think he would have got sacked.
No, I think that's it. It is relative versus what is the expectation, isn't it? I mean, the same thing, but let's not forget the same thing happened with Celtic. It wasn't as if it was just Rangers, you know, they obviously brought in their guy, didn't they, you know, across from the MLS, and that didn't work. So they had to go for the short-term fix of Martin and Neil to get something out, and they did end up turning it around and winning the league, didn't they? So yeah, but it's interesting, and it also shows you...
with a bit of help from the Scottish FA.
Well, yes, arguably very much so. I mean, that has gone pretty quiet, hasn't it? They should really be investigating that still. But anyways, beyond that, I mean, I think that just shows you, doesn't it, you know, the nature of modern football as well. And it's something he's going to have to face at Leicester, being the appointed as manager here, because there is a desire and a need to get to the ground running here, isn't there? And that is a big worry for all of us as fans. If we had a 10-game spell at the start of it, there wouldn't be very much support, would there? Because we've gone through this before now, the previous 2 or 3 managers, where it hasn't quite hit the ground running on all the metrics that it needs to. So I do think this is a very brave appointment from the club, and a lot of it, I think, Chris, in comparison with the last managers we've seen come through the door as well, is going to be the level of commitment the club shows the manager. I think we've had a few different ones now, and I think there's been a lack of commitment in how many coaches they can have bringing in, you know, from themselves, the transfer side of things, the lack of money, the PSR problems. I think when you combine all that together, a lot of managers have had one of their arms cut off before they come in here. If the football club executes a good strategy with Russell Martin, I don't think it's as doom and gloom as it could appear on paper.
No, and I'm going to go through a few comments here. Jack, hi Jack, how you doing? You can't say that when you get on an airplane, can you?
What's that? Oh, yes, you can't. Well done, Chris. Straight in there with the dad jokes.
Well done. It's why you love this.
Well, we know what you do when you're sat on the toilet. You're thinking of your dad jokes.
Let's move on. Just glad it's been done early, really, and that they have got the man they wanted a long time, so they better back him. A couple of points on that. Yes, today is transfer window opening day. So to actually get him in on the first day of the transfer window, my God, you know, that's good. And yes, they have to back him. And look, and I think we're just coming up. Oh no, Danny Roll's gone to RS Salzburg or RB Salzburg.
Yeah.
Now, you know, with what they've got to do is, the problem is he's going to get a lot of stick. If he doesn't come and, like you say, hit the ground running, he's going to get huge amounts of stick off the fans. what I don't want to see is Cooper Mark II. I don't want to see Top coming in going, oh, I'm a bit upset. They're not doing very well. Out. No, stick with him. If you think he's your man, stick with him. And I do get fed, and I fall into this trap. I'm throwing myself into this same bag where fans are going, oh, you know, under for Cifuentes at the start of the last season. Oh, we've won 4 games in a row. Just like we've drew 4 games in a row. That's not good enough. Well, it wasn't as bad as it was going to get. So they've got to stick with him, haven't they?
Well, you say that, yeah, but I think a lot of it is the performances as well. I mean, we can see under Cifuentes the performances weren't there. It was more luck than judgment of what we were doing than we were picking up points.
He's come out now and said he'd have kept us up.
Well, he might have done, but the level of performances was only getting worse and stagnating for me and from what I could see, you know, and ultimately your performances are what lead to it. And that's something which concerns me about the Russell Martin appointment. Like I said, he would not have been my first name on the list. He would have been outside of my top 10 choices, you know, and that's a big part of it. And that's why it is, I think, a bold appointment by the football club, because ultimately, yeah, there isn't going to be a lot of fan patience with it. And also, Chris, we shouldn't expect there to be either, because actually it's very natural and normal for people, bear in mind what we've seen the last couple of years, to be in this place right now. He's also a manager the fans haven't wanted before when he's been linked. So it is quite a bold move from the football club to go, he's our man, we're going to put our hat on him. And like I say, the only way it's going to be successful is with the club's backing behind him and making sure all these operational changes behind the scenes are actually going to help support him. If not, then it is a very dangerous appointment.
Look, it is, but we're in League One. We're not Premier League champions anymore. We're not FA Cup winners. Who did they think we were going to get in? Ruben Amorim? Yeah.
Well, they did try Enzo Maresca briefly last season, by all accounts it appeared. I mean, allegedly.
But he was out of work at the time and hadn't been linked to Man City at the time. So, and it was only on a short-term deal. He was going to be the Gary Rowett figure. But we're not going to get those sort of people. You know, even when we were Premier League champions, we were still just Leicester City. You know, and I've said this with players, and it's the same with the manager. If Manchester United, as bad as they were at the time, could get somebody over us, they would easily do that. Yeah. Because the manager would look and go, well, it's Man United. So let's get a little bit of realism into this now. Look, I get what you're saying, Jay. I get what you're saying there. But who we're going to get? And hopefully when we go through all the details and what have you, hopefully you will... maybe like me, because I was very anti him, and I actually invited Reese on, co-presenter, and he actually talked to me round. Look, I'm going to say this now. Do I want this guy as the manager? I'm happy. Okay. Do I want him if he gets us back to the Premier League? Do I want him in the Premier League? Probably not. This is a 3-year deal for me, so hopefully get promoted this coming season. I mean, that's not taken for granted. You know, let's not get that big that, we're going to get promoted straight away. Look what happened when we said that when we got relegated to the Championship. And I said, well, we could end up being Luton Town, and we were. But look, season 1, get us promoted. Season 2 doesn't quite make it. Season 3 gets us promoted. There's your 3 seasons gone.
Yeah, well, I don't think we can even look at it that far ahead, really. I think the thing is going to be interesting is how he lines up this team and builds it all together. Well, I understand, Chris. I get why you're reacting like this, but I understand where people are coming from with people like Christian Fuchs, Dave Challoner.
Sorry, Jay, but because he's an ex-Leicester player, you think he's going to be a good manager. He kept Newport up on the last day of the season, and we've got a friend of the channel here, Mike, who is a Newport City fan, who says he does not want Fuchs there next season. They could have just as easily gone down. Would you have wanted him then? No. We need somebody with experience of this league, not somebody that we're going to take a gamble on.
Well, Chris, I mean, the thing you've got to think of as well, and Clibbo raised this in the chat. Hi, Clibbo. Very good point. Again, it's like they've now divided the fan base further. An appointment like Christian Fuchs, yes, okay, logically, tactically, whatever, might not be the best. Emotionally, it's a lot better than Russell Martin. And that is a big point of it. It is emotionally, Chris. You don't misunderstand that. I'm not saying he's a better manager. I'm saying that there is an argument in this that a decision like this to serve and to divide the fan base might not be fully actually what the club is needing to do right now, especially when Top's come out and talked about unity and all the rest of it. But like I say, that's why my backup argument is the club's got to go out now and give him a war chest of money to spend. They've got to let him bring in the players he wants, not who John Rudkin wants, the director of football wants, and then just chuck them on the pitch and there you go, mate, off you crack, because that won't work. So it is an indication on the club, and they've made a rod for their back with this appointment. And let's hope for our sakes as fans they get it right, because he won't get much patience in a similar way to what he got at Rangers.
Okay, let me ask you this then. How would you feel if Andy King was now appointed our manager?
Well, I don't think it would happen. So
no, it's hypothetical. Christian Fuchs is hypothetical. The question is, after last season, how would you feel if Andy King was made manager now, having seen what he did for 4 games?
Well, I think for 45 minutes against Southampton, he got us playing the best we played all season. The other 45, we got murdered. That's true. That is true. I don't know, Chris. I mean,
the other 270 minutes, we got
I know. The point is, there's pros and cons to all of them, and there's no perfect candidate, like you say. I mean, my candidate.
What I am saying is, mate, is that, and look, if anybody watches, we're not falling out. This is just having a discussion. But what I'm saying is, we've got to get past this fucking. He used to play for Leicester. He was in the Premier League winning team. Therefore, he's going to be a good manager. If he was a good manager, Newport County wouldn't have survived by 1 point on the last game of that day of the season.
Yeah, but you can't overlook the fact he was also part of the Premier League winning team, and he knows what made that dressing room a winning dressing room.
And he was part of the 5,000 to 1, anniversary match.
It's a very deep discussion.
Let me come to this to you then. I'm not going to let this drop.
I know you're not. And I'm going to fight you all the way, Chris. We'll be here for a while. Get your popcorn.
2 words. Wayne Rooney, fucking good footballer. Played for England. England's one of England's top goal scorers, if not still there. I don't know if it's him or Kane. He must be a good manager. He can play football.
Well, you say that, but then actually the majority of football managers used to be ex-football players. The vast majority of them. Carlo Ancelotti used to be a football player. Arsene Wenger, they might not have been good football players. Jurgen Klopp was a football player. It doesn't. I get what you're saying, but to say that all ex-football players, which is what it comes across as, make poor managers is incorrect. Okay, you get the odd example like Jose Mourinho, who's a translator and became a coach after being a translator first. Yeah, it's a mixed bag. But what I'm saying is there's different qualities all these people possess. I think the worry from the fan bases is that this is an appointment where the club is doubling down on what they've been trying to do for a while with the pep ball philosophy, right? And what happened in the last 2 years, Chris? The pep ball philosophy failed because we did not have the personnel in the football team to make it happen. And the worry is, of course, if that's the personnel he's going to work with, yes, we're going to see departures and hopefully players come in. Are we not then beating the same drum? And is it not doubling down on something with a 3-year contract, which can be hard for us to pay and get out of if it goes wrong, rather than going down the attitude of, okay, let's go with someone like a Dave Challoner, someone who's got 3 different ideas. If something goes wrong, he'll change up, go more direct. Look at Hull City this year. Hull City got promoted with the lowest XG in the championship, pretty much. And what they did was, Chris, remember we did the watch along when we played them at their place. The game before, they lined up in a different formation and philosophy. They got 3 points. Then they changed it to play us and beat us as well. They didn't turn up and do the same thing. The manager was very pragmatic.
Putting my devil's advocate hat on, and that's all I'm doing in all of this. Putting my devil's advocate hat on. Nigel Pearson changed the team every week, and what did that do? Eventually he accepted that Mark O'Brien needed to be in the team, kissed and made up, and he came in, and the rest is history. But for all them times, he was changing week, and you scored 2 goals, you would drop the next week. So it's all about it's that combination of manager and players. Look, the 4-2-3-1 is not embedded in his. I know what we've said, but it's not embedded in his philosophy. It's his. It's probably his favourite, if I'm honest with you. We've got to say, some teams have success before 4-2-3-1, and if he comes in and has that success, then maybe we've got to say it was the shit players.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, look at the two teams that came first and second last year in League One. The team in first place, Lincoln, had one of the lowest possessions in the league. They played very direct and they won football matches, basically nicking them. And then you've got Cardiff City, who dominated possession. So it was two complete polar opposites who came first and second. That is very true. But that goes back to my argument: is what Leicester City are we going to see? It was mentioned in the chat, and I think it was by Georgie. A good point here, because we knew when Ruud van Nistelrooy was here, he was told, "Oh, in January you're going to have some money to spend, right?" And what happened? Koulibaly. There was no one else. So what was that, £2 million? Hopefully, the club has made it very transparent and created an honest, transparent relationship with Russell Martin, and they will back him, because I do think this is an appointment where, unless he is fully backed and gets the players he needs to complete his formation, because, like you say, it's a 4-2-3-1. It'll also be a 4-3-3. It can be a 3-5-2. It can be a 3-4-2-1 even. The philosophy is going to be the same in those formations, but he's going to need ball-playing defenders, Chris. He's going to need a sweeper goalkeeper, which we haven't really got. Are the club going to bring those to him, or is it, here you go, here's Begovic, we've signed him up again, who's not a sweeper keeper? In which case, then it's destined to fail before it starts, right? So, yeah, this appointment, beyond who it is more about what is the football club going to be? Is this change in the management structure and the hierarchy actually going to mean anything, or is it more of the same wind and guff and fortune we've heard before?
Right, let me come back to you on that. Is the fact I'm going to be very careful what I say here, because I wanted Steve Cooper. I wanted Roy. I wanted Marty Cifuentes. The only one I didn't want was Andy King, and I wanted Gary Rowett. But everybody was screaming for Andy King because, hey, he's an ex-Leicester player. He's Leicester through and through.
Yeah.
You don't need a manager that's Leicester through and through. You want players that are Leicester through and through, and that's what we didn't have. It's still not on Sky Sports, by the way, mate. Still not on the club website for some reason. Gary Rowett, I was happy with. Let's not get our head mixed into that. Is he going to be given millions to spend and to bring players in? We know there's going to be areas he needs to bring players in. Yep. But let's not go out and just say, right, we need to bring players in, because otherwise what we're paying £15 million a year for the academy. We did a show the other day, and we built a team of just academy players. Now, we know that's not going to happen, but it is possible. So you don't want to go out and buy 10, 11 players.
Well, we're going to have to. We need that squad numbers, Chris.
Yes, but what about all the youngsters?
Oh, yeah, some youngsters will get promoted. And there's going to be some youngsters I can see, and I can see specifically which ones they will be that will be involved, and he will like. He has done that before. That is very true. And my point of the matter is, if the football club is in a financial position where, for example, we need to sell a lot of players this summer, and that money is going to go to paying off debt rather than being investment in the squad, or the majority of it, then actually you need to make a different appointment than Russell Martin. You need to bring in someone who's going to tailor a tactic and the system around what he's got at his disposal, right? Which actually does exist out there. That would be a Dave Challoner type. They're out there. That's why Dave Challoner's gone up from the National League all the way to League One and got promotion after promotion after promotion with different clubs, because he's gone in and done different things every time. So that's what's interesting about this. This appointment suggests to me, okay, the club is going to double down on what it wants. And like I say, it's going to be the follow through on what they provide for him, how successful this is, because there is a chance this could very much be a 100-point season under Russell Martin, but there's also the chance after 10 weeks we could be going, oh, sweet Jesus, we're right struggling down the bottom. The confidence in the football players and the hangover of playing this way still exists, and as soon as we're 1-0 down, we seem to pass around the back all the time, which will frustrate the fans even further, right?
Clibbo, I've sent you a message. If you're not doing anything, if you feel free to come on and join us. I've also put a message out to the other presenters as well. The elephant in the room, Tony. I don't think there's so much an elephant as a fucking herd. I'm still, and I'm probably an idiot for doing this, but I'm still clinging on to the hope that it's just a fancy title he's got to keep him sweet, and he's got fuck all to do with the adult team, and he's just been given that name to save face by top. I'm still working. What are you doing going on here then? Yeah, you silly cunt. That's just a thing.
It's a bit early for that sort of stuff, Chris. We haven't even got into Russell Martin talk yet.
It's not with Clivo and Reese, I'll tell you. It never is. So yeah, look, I just think, like, let's at least give the youngsters a chance. Maybe in January we can look and think, well, they haven't worked out, that hasn't worked out. But we will need to bring some players in.
Yeah.
Now, skiving. Why
I
does
was going
that
to say that's what makes this the fact the appointment's been made this early better, because the window opens today, doesn't it? The window's now. Well, apparently there's rumours Victor Christensen's had an offer already coming from Greece. So yeah, so things are going to start moving.
We need to get another one in.
Well, exactly. You need to start moving players on to know what we're going to have to spend. You need to start utilising the free transfer market. So
what I hope they will do is, and I'm not 100%. I know what you're saying about free transfers, but I think we've got money to spend in this division with PSR and all that. But if we're getting players that have been released by other clubs, are they that good? And yes, everyone's going to go.
Michael Brighton,
exactly.
Christian Fuchs,
yeah, exactly. But that was at a different level, wasn't it? Really, but the thing is, and this is where it comes into backing the manager. I hope that they're going to give this guy the final say on the players he wants.
Yeah, which is interesting because it has been announced that it will be a head coach position, right? Which is a word that fills my soul with a lot of trepidation, right? Because I'm old school like you, mate. I prefer a manager, and a manager manages a football club, which involves organising all the transfers, involves the money side of it as well, involves organising everything. A head coach is just really focused on coaching a group of players and having input on all these other things as well. But certain other areas of it are going to be run by other people in the football club, which once again puts the pressure on the organisation and the structure of the football club to get things right, doesn't it? I mean, it is modern football to go for a head coach because football clubs now are so much bigger, aren't they? But
let me just say, I'm just looking at Sky. Well, Mark McAdam was the guy that broke it, and he said head coach. Sky have also said head coach, but they've obviously just taken it off what Mark McAdam said when you look at the timing. But when I go back to the 13th of June, and this is on Sky Sports News again, Martin in advanced talks with Leicester. It says Russell Martin is in advanced talks with Leicester City over their vacant head coach position. Now, we have never had a head coach before. And everybody comes on and says, this guy was a head coach. No, when you look at all the appointments, it always says our new manager.
Well, we'll see this time because it will be interesting, won't it? But I still maintain, even the word manager has been bandied around. Some of our coaches have just been head coaches, actually, just by how the club has been structured and operated.
Will see. Yeah, we will see. The thing is, I mean, I'm a bit more okay with it maybe now that this McCarron's in. But if you saying to this guy, right, we're coming in, this is how we want to play, you're the man to deliver this sort of team for us. Now, these are the players these are the positions we think you need. And maybe we'll speak to Andy King about that. I'm hoping, because he's bringing in his own staff, hopefully as well, that we can get rid of Adam Sadler. Although if we were near November, we could stick him on top of a bonfire, couldn't we?
We hate to say the most important one might be the set piece coach, because my God, we need to learn how to defend and take a bloody corner, don't we?
Yes,
especially teams are going to low block us next year. We need to score from set pieces, guys. Please focus on it.
100% correct with that guy. He's in America at the moment with his the American team. Let's hope Trump doesn't give him a visa to get out. But you've got to say, right, okay, don't just say here's the player here. And this happened in January. Honestly, for me personally, in my opinion, this happened in January. That when Rowett came in, he'd got the players that we'd got in, not necessarily ones he'd want to get. And when you look at how often he played them, you can understand probably.
Yeah.
So you've got to say, look, okay, Martin, you want a striker. Okay, is that a one-man up front or is that a two-man up front?
Yeah.
Because if you want a one-man up front, we're not going to get you another Patson Daka. Because guess what? He was a two-man up front striker.
Exactly, yeah.
So Martin says, okay, I want one up front. I've got my eye on somebody. Because look, he's going to have some ideas. He said, I'd like this player, please. Yep. So they'll go off and maybe get that player and try and get that player because that's what Russell wants. If they can't get it, and we're going to have to watch the money, so we're not going to be paying silly money, hopefully. But if he can't get it, they'll come back and say, sorry, Russell, I know you wanted him. We can't get him. Here's three others that we think we can probably get. Are any of these three interested? of interest to you. And
Yeah.
hopefully you would then go, oh yeah, number 1 and 3.
Yeah. What the manager will do, Chris, when he comes in, is he'll have a look at the squad that's there. The majority of our squad's going to be here, isn't it? I mean, I'll be on holiday, but you'll be able to look at who we got under contract, work out who's going to be going on, who's going to be leaving, all the interest about that as well. Compile that information together, look back at tapes, and he'll go, right, I need this, I need that, I need that, I need X amount of players for this. And then the director of football will go off with the scouting team and bring him options, right? And I think you're right, because you referred to obviously what happened in January, and that is very interesting because, like you say, Joe Aribo sort of came in the door, never really featured, right? John Richard. Well, yeah, I know he might be coming back yet. I mean, that'll be the typical Leicester, won't it? To double down on something which is going to fill us all with a load of dread. But yeah, no, my point is like Richards as well came in on loan, didn't feature as well, which shows there had to have been a disconnect between what the director of football, whoever was bringing the transfers in, and the manager were doing, which is a big problem, right? So with this appointment, that has got to get smoothened out. That's got to get streamlined. That's got to be efficient because, like I say, you need to be able to bring in the best quality of player to be able to fit these roles. And we can't have a director of football that goes, well, we need a centre back, you need a ball playing defender, we're going to be playing a high line, you need a certain profile, we don't want a goalkeeper, we need a sweeper keeper, we haven't got a sweeper keeper at the football club, so we need to go get one, right? So this is the slight differences in profile that the football club's got to get on board, and hopefully Russell Martin, if will go out there and make sure they're indicated in the right direction where to look.
I mean, I'm a bit, you can't necessarily say that we have to give the manager carte blanche because look what happened with Rodgers.
Well, yes, I know, but this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, there was a time.
And what was he called? I can't even remember.
Bertram. Yeah, but was Vestergaard his choice though? Because I'm pretty sure he didn't go for Vestergaard. He was given Vestergaard as one of the options, and then they ended up getting him. Well, he wasn't the first choice. Russell Martin, Brendan Rodgers wanted. He wasn't.
Well, we will never know totally, will we? Let's be honest with you. But let me ask you this then, because we've mentioned Joe Aribo there, and Russell Martin has worked with Joe Aribo. Yeah. So he knows what he's like. Aribo, was he not part? I don't know if he was part of that 25 match unbeaten run for Southampton or not.
He was. Yeah.
Was he? Right. Okay. Because look, those players that we had last season, they weren't fucking interested, were they? Let's be honest with you. They couldn't give a toss. If you'd have brought Sir Alex Ferguson in, he wouldn't have got a tune out of them. I'm sorry. They were gone. So, but if you're looking at some players, and I'm thinking with Aribo, Marty may look at it and go, do you know what? I know how to play him.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that might be. I mean, I'd argue it's probably 2 or 3 years past his sell-by date, which is probably.
I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm quite in agreement with that. But sometimes a manager can know how to play a player when he's had him before. Yeah,
of course. And we do see it at football clubs, don't we, Chris? We see it where like a player plays really badly for one manager and all of a sudden he's the first name on the team sheet for another. It is very true. I think it's more the profile of the sort of player Joe Aribo was 3 years ago. He'd probably be looking for is maybe bring it in. Maybe it exists at the football club already. I mean, I'll say central midfield is probably the area we're better off at, even when we get rid of some, hopefully, as well. So, but it's going to be interesting what sort of profile of player we go. So I've created a list, as we can go through later, of players I think he's going to like and players I think he's not because of how he plays his football, which is going to be very interesting to look at as well and give us an indication of how he might line up.
I mean, let's have a look at this. This was something I did a while ago. This is our manager list under King Power. So since King Power came in 2010, so that's 16 years ago.
God, it feels like yesterday.
This will be our 14th manager in 16 years.
Yeah, remarkable, isn't it?
I've not included like Andy King, and I've not included, standing, Mike Stowles and all of those sort of people. I mean, okay, at the start, it didn't go bad. You could argue maybe Sousa didn't have long enough again, a bit like Cooper. But, at the end, the last ones on that list, there's been a few boo-boos there, hasn't there?
Well, it's funny because you look at the top of the list and you would say there was probably a very similar pattern of appointment. I mean, oddly though, like you look at all these appointments, I can't think of any of them apart from maybe Pearson the second time where everyone was unanimous about the decision. You know, everyone's like, that's a really good idea. Half the time, I mean, when Claudio came in, I'm like, the rest of us, I was like, what are we doing? You know, Nigel's gone, Claudio's in, this is probably going to be a disaster waiting to happen. You know, I mean, it's a reality of it. There's only so much we're going to know, right? What is interesting is, like I say, the style of it as well, isn't there? And especially when you look at the last 4 appointments, because the last 4 appointments reek of panic. They reek of a club that was slipping away through the fingertips, and no one had any idea how to stop it happening, because we jumped them from Steve Cooper to Ruud van Nistelrooy, completely different styles of football and manager. And also in that time as well, you could say, especially the last 4 appointments, the squad has definitely stagnated, hasn't it? Because in order to be able to achieve things with these managers we've had in, you needed to be able to refresh the squad, and we've not actually done that. So, and that carries on. So the interesting thing with the next appointment on this list, obviously, is going to be Russell Martin as of today, is how does that look when it combines to the squad as well, and how it goes going forward? This has to be a summer for us, Chris, where we have a turf out. We can't be having any of this hangover carrying on anymore. If players don't want to be here and it's all past it, we need to do the right thing. We need to sell them and move them on and get the wages sorted. And we need to bring in the right character again to the football club, because the last 2 transfer windows, last 4 transfer windows, you can certainly argue that the decision making on the type of character that's come into the football club has been very counterproductive, unfortunately, for us.
Just to say, still not up. Apparently, the fact that we're playing Bristol Rovers in a pre-season friendly is more important at the club. But it is actually, it was on just the Sky Sports News transfer feed. It's now actually on Sky Sports News Leicester City feed in big yellow thing. So it is there. And it just takes you through to the transfer feed, to be honest with you.
Well, they wouldn't announce it on Sky Sports unless the club had tipped them off. That's how it works.
Yeah, they've got to have done. Or they've just gone with what... No, they must have been told. Because I said they won't have just gone with Mark McAdam, I'm sure. You know,
but usually the football club that informs the media that something's going to happen, don't they? And that's normally where this information comes from. So I think we're just literally going to be waiting for that post to go up any time now.
Yeah. And look, not my choice, but it could have been a lot worse, couldn't it?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I can think of 10 people ahead of him I would have had. I mean, like, okay, let's talk about some pros and cons a minute, shall we? Because I think this is quite interesting.
I do. Well, let's get on to him in a bit more detail then, and that will lead on to the pros and cons, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
There we go. So this is Russell Martin. This is his history, not including Rangers. So he's played 269 matches. He's not played. He's managed 269 matches. He's got 106 wins, 75 draws, and 88 losses. An overall win percentage of 39.4%. Now, the last manager to get anything near that, excluding Enzo, because Enzo obviously was really good, was Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, about right.
Before that, I mean, you looked at Claude Prell got 34.3, Shaky got 42.4, Claudio only got 44.4, Nigel Pearson 45.7, Sven was 43.6. Nigel's first time here was 1.4. So it's not far off those. It's I think it's looking better than the last lot. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. I think it's okay, isn't it? I mean, you'd argue, looking at his body of work so far, going back to MK Dons, Swansea, then Southampton, obviously, where he had the majority of his success there. It's been a bit 50-50. You know, I think really, I think Southampton, in the Championship. I mean, I've got that total record here when I was researching it, and you know, he had 26 wins, 9 draws, and 11 losses in that 46 games, right? So, I mean, he came 4th in the league that year. You know, he was 9 points off second place. That's the year. Obviously, we were with Enzo. We put 9 past him in the games that we played against them. It's interesting that it's probably quite an average record, isn't it? I mean, I think you can see the similarities between him and Brendan Rodgers, isn't there? Perhaps in how he comes across as well.
Wolves have appointed Cesar Pixito as head coach.
That's bizarre, because he was managing Gil Vicente, I believe, and they haven't really pulled up any trees over in Portugal. Bizarre.
I mean, I'm looking here, looking under MK Dons, and it's this sort of thing that makes me giggle a little bit. They had he played possession football, and he's got another record he's got is a record 56 pass goal. Now,
Yeah.
when you look at a goal, if there was, let's say, 15 passes that led to a goal, you would
Mm.
look at it and go, wow, what a great team goal.
Yeah.
56, you've probably gone, well, I've got time to go and walk the dog and come
Yeah.
back before it's in the net. That was a little bit, I mean, I wouldn't look at that and go, wow, great team goal. Because, like I
No.
say, 40 of those were probably goalkeeper to defender and back again.
Well, I don't forget as well, where did we have our greatest success as a football club? Casper Schmeichel talks about it very publicly in interviews. He goes, why make 50 odd passes when you can make one?
Yeah.
And we used to just do that, didn't we? We won a Premier League by getting it to Riyad Mahrez. Mahrez would bang it to Vards and it'd be in the back of the net. So it is quite a departure from us.
But that's what gets me. That's what gets me
Mm.
with Top is that we didn't play this tippy-tappy football and we won the Premier League. Why is he so against playing the way we played the Premier League?
Well, ironically, because it was more luck than judgment, probably, Chris. I know you can't really sack a manager for winning football matches, but, you know, the style didn't really compute with what the club wants. There's obviously, he's got this thing about possession and pet ball, isn't there? And I think it's looking at the clubs like the Man Cities and trying to emulate them. And it's a dangerous game to play in certain regards, especially the lower down the leagues you are, because, I think football's changing as well. Wayne's talked about this quite a lot on the show as well. And my concern with pet ball is pet ball's kind of 5 years out of date unless you've got a world-class squad. You've got a world-class squad, you can manage a game really well and you're going to probably succeed, right? But if you look at teams that have done well in the last year in particular, like Hull, for example, Sunderland in the Premier League, they don't play pet ball. They're actually the antithesis of pet ball. And it seems to be football is moving on beyond that, doesn't it? And there's more ideas coming in from different places. So, yeah, from that perspective, I'm a little bit nervous about this appointment because of that, because it does make you wonder, especially when we have seen, obviously, a year where we were struggling to play out from the back and still trying to do it. Goodness me, when we played Millwall away, and every time we tried to play out from the back, they just nicked it off us half the time, and we lost the ball. We couldn't break them down at all. There is that worry that if we were to try and do the same in League One with teams that are going to be very high pressing on us, trying to nick the ball, because we're Leicester wanting to have a go at us as well, right? That will exist, that we might concede some goals. And then obviously, if you've got to complete 56 passes to get one, you know, you could be 2-0 down by that point, couldn't you? So, yeah, there is a reason to have a bit of concern there in the fan base, definitely.
Do you think that? Let me just get it was there a minute ago. It's gone now. Do you think we're looking too much on the bad side? Because he has had some successes. I mean, look, MK Dons promotion, Swansea. You know, he did the double over their fiercest rivals. You know, twice, league double over them. Southampton, a club record 25 game unbeaten run. Although obviously we don't know how much of that was from behind the trees with a pair of binoculars.
Yeah, they went from the end of September till the 13th of February undefeated, 24 games.
Yeah, playoff winner, obviously. And look, we could be looking at that and going, he wasn't a playoff winner. You never know with playoff finals, do with the one-off. That's why they're a final. It went wrong in the Premier League, and that's why I have reservations about him still being manager in the Premier League.
Well, this is it. But I mean, like, I think we can't think that far ahead, can we? I mean, ultimately, like, how good is our team? I mean, my worry is, and I know we're talking negative more than positive here, and there is some positives hopefully to take, and we'll get to those in a bit. But my worry is that obviously there was an attitude or a perceived opinion that we were going to go into the Championship last year, play this style of football, and you know, which was very similar for Cifuentes. He'd play out from the back, wouldn't he? And we'd be fine. We walk the league, we'll go back to the Premier League, happy days, job done. And we were that terrible. We got relegated. And actually, if you look back to last season, I would argue we were the worst team in the Championship. It wasn't Sheffield Wednesday. We were very lucky to get 3 points off them. It was 2 set pieces, which then fell away for us, didn't it? We couldn't outplay them. So that is a concern going into League One for me, because are we just trying to do something that the club isn't capable of doing? But once again, it comes back to we've got to get the recruitment right if we're going to go for this, right? So it's a sort of appointment today that really makes me go, the club is really, really going out on a limb here and going, we're going to follow this. This is our philosophy. I can see entirely why they've done it. Don't get me wrong. But it is a high proportion to blow up your face if it goes wrong, isn't it? So
it is. I'm just searching the web to see. It is only him to be Sky. And I mean, if we're wrong, we're going to look absolutely stupid.
No, I'll be quite happy to be wrong in this occasion. I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the chat will be like, "Oh, if it turns around now."
But again, all right, and I'm not having to go at you here,
No,
but
no, no.
are we kind of condemning him before he's even started the job?
I think to be fair, that is a good point. And I think a lot of it is, Chris, there's going to be a lot of condemnation no matter what the club does because of what the club's got wrong recently. But the club's kind of got to understand that. You can't just go, well, the fans are wrong and you're going to put a hand up to them and go, you go sit in the naughty corner over there. You've got to understand why your fans are feeling like that. And then I think it should be part of consideration to the decisions you make. But of course, with that being said, it can't be all of that decision, can it? You know?
No, it can't. It can't. And to be honest with you, I mean, look, it's King's Club. Sorry, Top's Club. I've got King's Power and all that stuff. It's Top's Club. He's one that's spending the millions, and I'm sure it will be millions that we're paying Russell Martin over the 3 years. He's not going to come along and say, well, Chris, who do you think should be manager? And I say, well, you should get this guy or that guy. Well, good idea. We'll go and employ him.
No.
Give us 3 million to pay for him for the next 3 years. I mean, see, but he's got to stick by it, hasn't he? That's what we think.
Yeah, and from the club's perspective, I imagine actually some of the fan noise in the past has probably influenced their decisions. It probably has actually, because he was lined up before, and then it obviously completely U-turned because the fans obviously made it very apparent they didn't want him. So it's an interesting place to be, isn't it? In that regard.
Yeah. Interestingly, and I've got Sky Sports News on here. Interestingly, they've got it going across the bottom, but they've not sort of focused in on it as a feature. They're currently talking Danny Rowe leaving Rangers at the moment.
Well, it's a big day for it as well because Crystal Palace have hired their manager as well, haven't they? So,
oh yes, indeed, and Wolves now.
Yeah, so it's all kicking off today. First day of the window. Everyone's back off holiday. Football's back, and the World Cup's only just started.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, indeed, good, eh? Right, well, let's have a look. These are what have been listed as his strengths. I'll list them down, and then you can go through them in whichever order you want to. But before I get to the... let me do this first, sorry. But I do want to get into this tactical formations, because I said yesterday to Reese that, it's a 4-2-3-1 man, blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, when he was at Southampton in the Championship, a lot of his play was 4-3-3. But there you can see the three formations that he likes to play. Now, you could argue which one is his favourite, and you'd probably have to say 4-2-3-1. But he does, all this while he's a 4-2-3-1 doesn't change his mind or anything. But, looking at that, it looks like he does.
No, he does. Yeah, I mean, you'd argue 4-3-3 has been his primary system throughout his career. Like you say, that would then maybe go into a 4-2-3-1. He does use backups, like say 3-4-2-1 or 3-5-2. Apparently, that's depending on the squad he has and his opponent's style as well, which makes sense.
Please don't look at the blue dots and go, well, that's not a 5-3, whatever. the dots don't match up with the formation.
Oh, I got you. I can't quite see it. Yeah. So no, you're not as static.
It's just for graphic purposes, So he has got alternatives. Whether he's allowed to play those or not, of course, will be another matter. But let's look at his strengths. We've got possession based. I can't speak today. Possession based football, builds from the back, controls games through the ball, championship promotion winner, 25 game unbeaten run at Southampton. Those are it's listed as his strengths.
Yeah, which is probably about right, isn't it? I mean, like the style of football, like we say, is going to be, very possession based. As long as you don't give the ball away and you can do something with it. These teams like to get the ball around the box as well, Chris. You got something?
They are now announcing it as a news item.
There we go. So there we go. Hopefully we can't hear that. Do you want me to keep talking while you listen a minute?
You keep talking, yes. Yeah.
Well, a lot of it is fluid positional rotations, isn't it? What he's going to do and trying to get touches in the opposition box. A lot of his teams get a lot of touches in the opposition box. You could definitely say we didn't have that last year. I think under Martin in particular, we were struggling to get anywhere near the goal, weren't we? Towards the end. So yeah, a high defensive line usually ties into this as well, which makes sense. You know, pressing as a team, using inverted fullbacks and not overlapping. They're going to come into central midfield, which is an interesting profile, and it's about trying to disrupt teams through that way, isn't it? So I mean, there is a strong philosophy there in what he's trying to do, and you could argue actually we're going to face a lot of teams next season who are going to go low block against us. A lot of the challenge is going to be we are going to have to try and fight through them. So in some ways, you kind of need that sort of style of thinking to do it. I do wonder if you kind of want to mix it up and be a bit more flexible than that, of course. But you would argue that the vision he has got is pretty strong for what, you know, he's trying to do. So
they're just saying at the moment, and they're looking at the playoff final, they're just saying that if he gets and funny enough, it's what you said earlier, if he gets the players he wants to play his style, he says they are a very difficult team to play against.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there is the frustrating part of it is there is a chance the goals we're going to give up are going to be the goalkeeper pass out from the back of the centre back loses it and we're 1-0 down. And the fans are going to have a pretty short tether for stuff like that, let's be honest, especially if it means we're not getting results early. So there is that gamble element about that as well. And especially when you think of the league we're in, because we're not in the Premier League. And ultimately in the Premier League, of course, a similar thing will happen when a quality player closes you down and you lose the ball, don't you? And this once again makes you think, where does the club think it is versus the reality of the environment they're in. The worst case scenario, we're turning up to a gunfight with a spoon. You know, I mean, that's the worst case for this.
And I'm not actually ignoring you there. I'm trying to put one ear on you, one ear on that. And the interesting thing that they've just said again, and it's just a couple of points, the one I've just made, and now this one is, and they've just said he's going into Leicester at their lowest ever ebb.
Yeah.
You could argue that we were at a lower ebb than we were last time we went down. I don't think that would be too unfair. He said, so it could work out brilliantly for him. But what he was basically going on to say was that it's almost like he's got a blank canvas.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, definitely. Well, we're hoping he does.
He's there with this canvas and he's got, you know, all the colours paint next to him. When you normally go in as a manager, you have probably got a lot of paint, or you've got to use that colour and you've got to use that colour. So it's interesting. I mean, somebody just there has said, if you're still, it's Dworski. Hi, Dworski. How you doing, mate? If you're still here at Christmas, it will mean we are top of the league. That's interesting because I was going to say earlier, when you and me start a new job, we're normally on what we call, certainly in England, I don't know if there's anybody watching from anywhere else, it might be called different. We have a probation period.
Yeah.
Where after 6 months, you are, if you're still there, you are reviewed, and then they say, yeah, well, you're not really doing well, blah, blah, and all this. But you can be obviously sacked until then. But you're not going to get that in football because nobody's going to become the manager if that happens. But is that giving them? I mean, it's going to be August, September, October, November, December. So that's going to be 5 months. So it's nearly the 6 months. Do you think that is long enough for a manager to have proved himself? Or again, if come Christmas and let's say we're in 7th place or something, is it a case of, well, he's got to go?
Well, I think it's interesting, and it's hard to know, but I will say this because I'm pretty sure we all know this as fans. The club won't accept anything apart from promotion. They weren't accepting that last year, Chris. You know, and it was only really when we were staring at a potential relegation that they felt their hand had to be forced. I mean, what's interesting is that, you know, last time when he was taking over at Southampton and going into a full season, right? What's interesting about that is they had a really awful September. So they started off all right. They got 3 wins and a draw from their first 4 games, okay? Then they went on an awful run where they lost 5 games in a row. They conceded. I've got the stats here. I'm just going to bring them up because it's interesting. Russell Martin's record, yeah. So they lost 4-1-1, conceded 13 goals and only scored 5, and 3 of those were in the last game, which they'd won. They obviously shipped 9 in back-to-back games against us and Sunderland. They lost 5-0 to Sunderland before we beat them 4-1. And that was obviously a feeling out period. But after that, of course, he went on an unbeaten run till February. So I would say, yes, 6 months is probably going to be a good indication, because you would argue, looking at what happened at Southampton, because he had to go into there and obviously change how they were doing things, and it got off to a bit of a rocky start, but they managed to turn it around and go on this unbeaten run, didn't they, until February and get promotion. So, yeah, I think 6 months would probably indicate it quite well. But, of course, the problematic element of this is going to be the length of the contract.
Yes, yeah. Jim, welcome, Jim. Oh, I think
Morning, Jim.
I think I want to say I think you probably just got up, haven't? Oh no, well I don't know. He's retired, possibly. I'm going to come back to you on this, Paul. Again, it's only my opinion, but Gary Rowett was on a 4-month contract, however long he was with us.
Yeah, at the end of the season.
Yeah, so we don't have to actually say that we sacked him. We don't have to actually say we've released him. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it?
Well, you say that, but Paul's got a point. The club, when it comes to communication, has been challenged on this for a while, haven't they? And actually, their communication could be better. It is very true.
No, I agree, and that is actually something. The conversation I had the other morning.
Yes.
I told you about that prop engine, but that was one of the things I actually mentioned in my brief early doors chat with him. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't look at this and go, well, they've got to tell us that Gary Rowett's gone. Yes, they're bad at communication. We know that 150%, Paul. But, well, no, I think we all knew that his contract had expired, So.
Well, you say that, but I mean, there's history for this as well, isn't there? Do you remember the time when they had Paulo Sousa in the stadium before they sacked Nigel Pearson? And
Yes.
I mean, that's not the first time that these things have happened. I mean, Rowett was there. Enzo Maresca turns up in the stands, doesn't he? And I mean, I know that wasn't for a managerial appointment, but there is something about how the club operates in that regard sometimes, which doesn't look very good from the outside. I mean, that's something I would say they need to look at, because it does very much give a high and mighty attitude, if that's meant to be that way or not. And of course, we can only perceive it how we perceive it as fans. But it doesn't look very good sometimes. I think it's something they could really work on. It would have been nice and more respectful to say last week, to put a statement out saying, thank Gary Rowett for his hard work and he's going to be departing the football club. I think that's a very good point.
We all see things differently. We all see things differently, Yeah. It wouldn't hurt to tell us an awful lot. We know that's a huge problem. And look, the thing with anything like this, not just football, but anything, is the fact that you send a text to somebody, or you send the same text to two people, they will read it two different ways.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You say it to them, and if they say, "Oh, well, what do you mean by that?" "Oh, well, actually, I meant it like this." "Oh, okay," and that is the problem. But yeah, I've got to say, Paul, we know communication is fucking.
It's the beauty of the English language, Chris. We in the English language can say something and mean completely the opposite because of sarcasm and all the rest of it. We've got a beautiful language.
Yeah, philosophy: control the ball, control the game.
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting, isn't it? Because this is something which I think puts a little bit of ice in my veins, a little bit, and a little bit of a chill, because I would like us to be a bit more proactive in thinking about a different style of football now, especially when we've been living with similar principles for a while. But just going off that, I mean, there is something to be said by that about the discipline side of it as well. There's something the football club has struggled with, is probably discipline, isn't it? I don't think we can argue, looking at any of the managers listed here, Russell Martin is probably a bit of a disciplinarian. We've had other football clubs come to us and say he's fallen out with players before, and some of our players need to be fallen out with sometimes.
Well, yeah. If you look at the bottom line, and in fairness, you probably can't see it, but it says possession control, patient progression, structure, and discipline.
Yes, I couldn't see it. Okay.
Yeah. Now, if this is true, Alleluia. But what Top has got to make sure he does here is back his fucking manager. Top has had his tongue so far up Jamie Vardy's arse and so far up other top players' arse that if they go along and go, "Oh, don't like this manager, he's not doing very well, get rid of Steve Cooper, he's only been here 9 games and I don't like the way he's making us play. Oh, yeah, I don't want to lose you. Yeah, let me go. Cooper, you're sacked." Now, that's, again, how it comes across to me. If he says to Jamie Vardy, "Fuck off, go and do what you're told. He's the manager. He's the guy I'm paying to run the club." If he says jump, you say how high. He then goes and says, "Steve Cooper, in the office a minute. What's going on with Vardy and you?
You got to think we've had quite a different background for this football club for the last 10 years. I think we've had groups of players 10 years ago who you could actually inherently trust their intentions because of how they cared about the club, what we got, we were successful with them. I think then there is an understandable reason to listen more. And also you could tell, look, whatever we think of Tom, I mean, like, he's obviously a nice guy, because he wants to look after his players. I mean, Vishai, God bless him, would look after the players incredibly well, and he wants to do that. But you are right. When you've got the wrong sort of people you're trusting, that can backfire in your face and make you look very silly. And that has been the problem from the outside, it is anyway. Trusting the wrong people, the wrong characters who haven't brought that to the football club, especially in the last 2 or 3 years. And you've got to become a better judge of when is the time to listen and when the time isn't to listen, right? And the manager has been the easiest scapegoat of this football club for a long time. And I think that's why we've understandably, myself included, seen the uprising against the ownership recently.
But I think as well, it's not just Leicester. I think any club, they're going to sack the manager more than probably get rid. And and I'm tongue in cheek when I'm saying all of this. I've no idea. But that's again just the way I perceive it, and I could be 200% wrong. But it's the same at any club. I'm not saying that, you've got to end player power. Player power just generally in football is too long. Look at how Fofana got a move.
Yeah. It's modern football, Chris, and it's agents and it's the money and it's all the rest of it, isn't it? I mean, players now can literally, even at the bigger clubs, can go, I'm off. I'm not going to play for you. I'll drop tools. And they can.
That is very true. That is very true, Paul.
Yeah, and that's why I miss Nigel Pearson. I always bring him up because Nigel Pearson was the well-rounded character as well. He wasn't someone who was very much one-sided on it. I think he was very fair with players. But here's the interesting thing, like I was going to mention as well, Chris, about that. I think part of the problem is the football club hasn't able to be transparent because it's not been operating transparently as a manager, with the players. Gary Rowett last season, you could tell there were times in interviews he wanted to say more than what he could. You could tell, he's probably one of the more honest managers we've had, and I think that's interesting. And I think the way you fix that is ensuring that the people you've got, the players you've got, the whole energy of the place, what we call the culture of the place, it doesn't need to hide because it is that good, right? And that is something the club definitely needs to change. And will Russell Martin bring that change in culture? Look, you can't really talk about people personally too much. He doesn't strike me as someone that fills me with, the great loving virtues of I really trust him and all the rest of it. There was a thing with Swansea when he went to Southampton. The whole situation ended up in the High Court because Southampton, God knows, I've never known Southampton to do anything dodgy, Chris. I don't know about you, but something was going on and it upset Swansea, went to the High Court. And that doesn't really fill you with the most confidence. But however, you can kind of look past it as long as the results on the pitch and also the club behind the scenes is given a bit of a sort out, because that's what last season showed us really needs to happen.
Yes, yeah. I mean, look, just football generally, we know it's not what it is. We do. Right, here's something for you to talk about. And feed your bits in as well here. So concerns. Again, I'll list them, and then you can pick out of here cherry pick what you want, or you think is out. Can overplay in dangerous areas. Takes risks in possession that can lead to turnovers. I tell you what I'm going to do. Sorry, just before, let me finish this first. So, defensive mistakes when building from the back. Oh my God, lots of possession, not always enough penetration. My wife would say, well,
"I knew you were going to go there. I knew it."
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times with that quote, but
I think 4 times. You've got 4 kids, haven't you?
No, 3 times because there was a set of twins in there, and can appear tactically stubborn. What I'm going to say is, before you just go off on that, look, if anybody wants to come in that is in the chat and just pop on for 30 seconds, a minute, and have your say, feel free.
Yeah. Don't just have me chatting for hours, guys. It'll get boring. Yeah, come on.
Put in the chat. In fact, tell you what I'm going to do. I don't know if I can.
That's all right. You sort it out, Chris. So, do you want me to talk about? I mean, where were we?
I'm just gonna. Well, I'm going to put the link in. So, if anybody wants to come in, it might be that you are sat in the back room for a while, but. We'll get you on for 30 seconds or so just to have your thoughts. Sorry, Tom, you carry on now, mate.
No,
Sorry.
it's all right, mate. I was getting distracted. I had so much swimming in my head there. So, yeah, the concerns about playing from the back, and yeah, that is a concern, isn't it? Because you could argue that you can set up a system where you play that way, but also, I said it last season, didn't I, when things were getting difficult? I felt we were too reliant on that, and actually, there's times you just need to boot it, you know. But then also, you could also then spin that again, and that's where things get interesting. You go, we've not got a big squad. The players we got, there's not many of them at all, you know. And so if you're trying to play a long ball, who's winning those headers? I mean, it was a big problem for me if you're going to play one up top. We needed a complete forward for a long time, and we never had one. Like we said, playing Patson Daka up front on his own. I mean, there was one game he looked half all right in, that was Swansea away, but then he's not going to do it all the time, is he? Because he could barely hit a cow's arse with a banjo anyway. But that's a part of the problem, isn't it? And it goes back to, I mean, like, I'll bring in here some of the players that I think would suit a Russell Martin defence, for example, versus who wouldn't. I'll tell you who wouldn't, and that's a Coley, because a Coley isn't very good at passing out from the back. There was times he got really caught out, made a wrong pass. There was one game in particular, he made a stray pass, and you could see this a goal straight away, didn't it? So you can immediately say a Coley wouldn't fit into it. Someone who would fit into it, ironically, is Wout Faes, because Wout Faes can play out from the back and can carry the ball well, but ironically he won't be probably hanging around. So I don't think we can get too excited about Wout Faes coming back in, but he is that sort of profile of player Russell Martin would look at, right? But once again, it comes down to, look, what are we going to have next season in the squad? Is it going to be cobbled together with a lot of the hangover of last season, you know? Or is it going to be, we're going to go out and get new ball playing defenders to come in? Because if we sign someone to replace Caleb Okoli, who's like Caleb Okoli, there's no point, is there?
No. Paul might be joining us today. Just to say, guys, so you do need to be on camera. I just need to say that. Paul's camera's not connecting at the moment.
No worries. We can carry on while we get anyone else in as well. Yeah. So what's the next one on that list, Chris?
Defensive mistakes when building from the back.
Yeah, which is what I was just talking about then, wasn't it? Yeah, so it is a bit of a concern. And once again, it would suggest to me, look, if we're going to play two centre-backs, I mean, you could argue Yannick Vestergaard can pass the ball, but with a high line, he's not going to fit that profile anymore because, unfortunately, his age means his pace isn't there. We found that towards the end of last season. So if you look at the centre-backs we got now for how that would work, I would say even Ben Nelson really struggled doing it. He came under a bit of pressure, didn't he? He probably could do it, but Wout Faes would probably be the only one I can think of off the top of my head who'd fit into it. So we're going to need two new centre-backs. Harry Souttar wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting. I know he's the one we're all putting our hopes on. Defensive mistakes when building from the back.
Yeah, which is what we were talking about then as well, wasn't it? I mean, of course, the fullbacks invert. So I talk about the fullbacks so many. They're not going to overlap and create width on the outside. They're going to come into central midfield primarily, aren't they? Because that's what they do. So, yeah, so that will be interesting how that translates.
Are you there, Paul?
I am, but I'm not sure how the camera works.
That's right. Can you turn your volume up just a little bit as well?
Yeah, is that any better?
That's a bit better, yeah. So tell us your thoughts on this then.
I don't think it's a bad appointment, to be honest. I'm not sure what the club are hoping for being in League One. But yeah, I mean, we could do worse. We probably could do better. But yeah, we are where we are, pretty much.
Well, this is it. Do you think, would you have preferred a Challoner?
Yes, definitely. I think he came third in League One, where Martin came.
He went out. Unfortunately, he went out on the playoffs, didn't he?
Yeah.
But how long would you give? And Steve's with us. Bring you in a second, Steve. I think Tom did that. Sorry, Tom just confused me then. Sorry, Paul. I mean, how long do you give him?
Like you were saying, if we were seventh at Christmas, I'd be happy. I'd be quite happy with that because I can see things going the other way quite easily. But yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, and one final question, and I'll put this question to Steve as well. One final question. What about if we don't get promoted? If we get into the playoffs and we lose the playoff final, is he then gone or is he given another season?
No. No, I don't think so. But it depends who's available. Because we don't want to be getting his players in, getting another manager who plays totally different, and then having to start all over again. So, yeah.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? So, I mean, if he doesn't get us up first time, it might be worth sticking with him a second time because, like you say, we've got his players. It depends how bad we do. I mean, if we finish, 15th and don't get promoted, that's another story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. All right, Paul, thanks for popping on, mate. And
No worries.
All right, nice to see you. Well, I'll say nice to see you. Not seeing you, but nice to hear your thoughts.
Nice to talk to you.
Cheers, buddy. Take care. Bye-bye. Right, sorry, Steve. Tom fooled me there. He's having a break, and he went off and put you in, and I'm like, oh, what's gone on? What's gone on? Well, come on. It's happened. It's him. Got to get behind him, haven't we?
Yeah, I think so. At this point, look, would he have been our first choice? Probably not. Would he have been our second choice? Probably not. Would he have been our third choice? Maybe. But look, I think at this point, the fact the club have got a manager in June is good. It means that we can start planning for pre-season properly. And he can then come in and, have a look at the squad and move players in and out that he doesn't want to be here or does want to be here. My main issue with Russell is that he needs to have learned from his previous experiences at Rangers and Southampton, and hopefully he has done that and he can push forward. But look, I'll get behind him. I'll give him as long as he needs to get things right. To answer your last question to Paul there, if he doesn't go up this season, will he stay at the club? No, he'll be gone. There's this season for me, and to be fair, quite a lot of people I speak to, it's shit or bust for the owners at this point, right? If they have got this appointment incorrect and we stay in League One because of it, then that's it. This is last chance saloon for the ownership for a lot of fans, and this appointment's the same.
I get it, but let me put it this way to you then. Had we appointed, let's say, Dave Challoner, who was one of the more popular guys that people wanted in, if we then finished not getting promoted and not even in the playoffs with Dave Challoner, does he get a second time, or do you do the same with him and just sack him as well?
No, he'd be gone as well. I think at this point, with the club that we are, and the fact that we will be selling players and bringing players in, there will be money spent this summer. If you back the manager and whoever it is and doesn't get them promoted, the club will move them on. That's it, because they have to get up this season. Like, financially, it is imperative that the club go up, because the drop in revenue from Championship to League One without the parachute payment is so significant that they would have to turn the lights off at the training ground for the time being and see how that goes. And not sell it, but usually what they do is they shutter these things and they'll maybe have 1 or 2 pitches open rather than the 5 or 6 that we've got. And they'll try and save money, and we can't afford to do that. For a football club that has had such significant investment by the ownership previously, we have spent money. We've lost a lot of money. It can't carry on as it is. So no matter who it is as the manager, it is shit or bust. They have to get up this year, because we can't afford to stay in League One for the size of the club that we are. And that's not saying, oh, we're a massive club and we don't deserve to be here. Look, it's based over relegations back to back. That happens for a reason. You're in the league position you are because that's how you finished. So we deserve to be in League One based on the season that we've just had. But financially, we are, other than maybe Sheffield Wednesday, financially we are bigger than every other club in that league. And the revenue that we turn over is so much bigger than them. So if they can't get up this year, then there's a problem.
As my wife used to tell me many, many, many times, size doesn't matter. And maybe not for the right.
She was just saying that to make you feel better, Chris, to be fair, because
yeah, I think she was.
It can help. It can help.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
Well, I said, what's the point in having a full orchestra when you're playing in the middle of Wembley? But there you go. Hi, Kath, if you're watching. But yes, how long were Leeds in this division for, though?
The thing is, though, that was that is so different to how it is now. Like, you can say that about the Leeds or the Leicester when we got relegated 70, but that is so far away from where we are now. Leeds at the time, they went down to League One. They were there for 2 or 3 years or so, and they came up. But the finances in football wasn't as astronomical as it is right now. And a team like Leeds going down there, if it was Switch and it was Leeds in this situation, they'd just be as screwed as we are in League One. And look, there'll be a massive turnover of players this summer for sure. There's going to be high wages out the door. They might be trying to push players out and just pay part of their wages to get them out the door as well. And if that happens, then you can see maybe sort of 10 to 14 players coming in the summer. At least, I think we have to sign at least 10 players to cover what we've lost. But I think they'll be very frugal. I think they'll be signing free transfers and loans.
Yeah, let me ask you this, and sorry, Tom, Steve's only got 10, 15 minutes. So something I put to Tom earlier is this is the season when we have to, look, 15 million fucking quid a year to get the golden generation. We don't want to go overbuying and then the golden generation don't get a look in. Otherwise, let's just sell Seagrave off and move back to Beaver Drive.
Yeah, no, I agree. You can't stifle the development of the young players that are coming through right now. And if you want to keep hold of those players like a Chair and Hutchinson and Badaluko, and we can all name off sort of 7 to 10 players that deserve a chance in the team. Bear in mind, they are still sort of 15 to 17. So I think you have to bring them in slowly. You can't just put them in first game of the season and say, off you go, that's it for the season, because they are still quite young and the league is quite physical. But yes, by all means, bring players in, but you have to balance it properly. And if you don't balance it properly, then you're just going to lose players. We've already seen Monga looking like he's going to Arsenal. Motzi looks like he's been linked to Man City and Liverpool. He's another really good talent at the football club. And if you so well and good bringing these players through at 15 and going, we're going to put you in the first team, play in a couple of cup games, but they can still walk off for £1 million for compensation, and that's the way football is right now. So I think a little bit of me sort of hopes that, yes, play them occasionally, but just stick them behind the sofa for a bit. Don't give them all the minutes in the world. Then they get to 17, you go, now you're in the first team, start playing every week, sort of thing. But
you've still got them when they're 17. That's the problem. Well,
yeah, that's right. But I think the most important thing we need to do this summer, and that is sign a striker. If you've got money to spend,
two, I think we possibly two,
yes. But if you have money to spend, then you put it on a striker. Because you can fill like Henry Cartwright and Sammy Braybrook are decent talents at this level, and they've both had extensions, so I don't think there'll be any issues. Aluko, even the centre backs, Kevon Gray looks pretty good. Stevie Bowser in goal. We've got a good sort of girth of talents that are girth, whichever it is, of talent coming through that can do a job.
Yes. Can I just say, please don't tell me that you're advertising VAR on the front of your shirt.
No, it's a fans.
Fans.
That's my generation, yeah.
Never know with you. I mean, you did get a nomination in the floppies for your studio attire, shall we say? But,
that'll carry on this season. Let me tell you, Chris, that's not stopping.
You'll bring colour to the ground. You will bring colour to the ground. So, of course, transfer window opens today.
Yep.
Good timing.
Well, I mean, he's going to have to come in and have a look at the squad properly, isn't he? So I think we will try and push out players that we know we can't afford. He's probably well aware. The club has probably said to him, look, we need to move on the likes of Vestergaard and, Abdul Fatawu to make money for the incoming and this, that, and the other. I think this time the club are probably fully out, cards on the table. This is a situation. We need to sell players before you can bring players in. So we'll probably see a lot of movement in the next 2 or 3 weeks, with Christensen being linked to Panathinaikos and, these sort of skip to Watford or whoever. And then, that's when the real sort of season kicks off, when I think around sort of July, the beginning of July, we'll start bringing players in properly. But you've got to give them time to look at the squad and find out who wants to be here and who doesn't, and then go from there.
Sky still aren't still out there on their own with announcing this at the moment, but
I feel like you've gone a little bit early, Chris, to be honest. But fair enough.
well, I mean, it's a bit of a race, isn't it? You get nothing for coming second. Well, no, fairly, it was like a Bournemouth journalist, well, a Bournemouth fan of a journalist that released it, and then Sky picked up on it, and Sky have even gone with it as a not just along the bottom. They've actually done a new section on it. So. On that, would you agree with a lot of what he said there, Tom?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think the interesting thing about the youth academy is definitely worth going over again, because you'd argue, like I've said for a long time, for the money that's been invested in the youth academy, it really should be our pillar of strength against a lot of the opposition clubs as well, especially with the catchment area we got and all the rest of it. I would argue that has needed to be getting a lot stronger the last few years. So I think that is one of the assets we need to utilise more, and I hope the managerial appointment of Russell Martin, fingers crossed, will do a lot of that, because we are going to have to look at promoting certain players this year. I mean, I'm very excited about the idea of Sammy Braybrook, Louis Page, if he's still here as well, hopefully, really getting looks in, because there's obviously talent there. And my perception on that is, look, that is a sale point of the football club for players to come to our academy, because if there is a more streamlined and more visible path into a first team squad for these young players, I think that makes us quite attractive. I think then you can kind of counteract what Arsenal and Liverpool can offer, by going, well, actually, if I went to Leicester, I think within a year or two, as long as I got my head down and performed at a high level, I'd be in the first team, because we've seen a success of that. I think in the last few years it hasn't quite been there for whatever reason. Maybe the club would say it's because the talent hasn't been, I don't know, but I think that is something we need to definitely focus on getting better at, especially when you talk about the finances involved in going out and buying ready-made players, which is something we're unfortunately not in the category to be able to do anymore, because we're not a Premier League club.
Liquidation is a serious threat, Dwarty says. Do you think that is the case, Steve?
But it's all down to the ownership. If Top decides to not want to invest more money into the football club, which, let's be honest, he hasn't said anything like that, and he has continued to invest in the years that he's been here. It's very important to point that out, because I feel like sometimes we forget that Top has put money into the football club, or he's cancelled debts and that sort of thing, turned into shares and stuff. If he doesn't want to invest money, then yeah, potentially. But look, this is his dad's legacy. I don't think there's a single part inside of my body that thinks that Top will put us into administration or liquidators. I think he will likely sell for sure, and he probably won't make his money back if he does go to sell. But I think there's too much of a pool there. And also, let's not forget, his dad died outside the stadium, right? In a horrific accident. He's got a statue outside of his. Why would he want to jeopardize that? So no, I don't think liquidation is a genuine threat. I think there's an issue if we don't go up, and we then have to, get King Power and Top to invest fully into the football club, and that's the only way we can. But then, there are a lot of billionaires that go into football that end up being millionaires, because you end up losing a lot of money in football. Unless you're a mega wealthy football club like your Man Uniteds or your Liverpools or whatever, the rest of you are just bottom feeders. You try and make ends meet, and unless there's big player sales, a lot of these clubs don't make profits anyway. Look at Brighton. They would have made a loss last year if they didn't sell 3 or 4 of their players. So
they say, don't they? The quickest way to become a millionaire is be a billionaire and buy a football club.
Exactly. That's right. And so there's always a lot of hysteria. And look, I'm guilty of it myself. You see my online presence and how reactive I am, and some of it is tongue in cheek. I'm not going to lie. I do over a little bit, but I can't see there any world where Top goes, like Chansiri. That's it. I've had enough. The book stops, and that's it. Yeah. I just don't think it happens.
I think you're right with what's happened. I mean, Tom, do you think we've got money to spend in this division?
Well, I mean, we did a show the other night, didn't we? We were doing a bit of a catch up, and we were looking at maybe we can probably bring in 40 to 45 million if we did some good transfer business out of the club. Obviously, I'm not talking about your Winkses and Skips with that. It'd probably be no fee at all. But we're talking about your Fatawoos, your Mongers, and all the rest of it. Then there is something there. It's going to depend how much that money needs to go elsewhere, isn't it? I mean, you would argue, hopefully, from the outside looking in, if you're going to get 45 million, would a 10 million budget for the squad be unreasonable? Probably not. That's what Birmingham spent the year to get promoted from League One 2 years ago. So you'd hope that to be the case. And just to also go back to what you guys were saying there, while the club owns its assets like the stadium and the training facility, I'm not so worried about liquidation. When we heard this interest about investment coming in, but about buying the stadium and buying the training facility, that got me a little bit worried, because then all of a sudden, if those things are taken out of your hand and you become customers of those facilities, which you used to own just to receive a lump sum at the time, that then puts things like liquidation a little bit more to the forefront as being a bit more of a high concern. So
very quickly, because I think you've probably got to go in a second, have you, Steve? Yeah, very, very quickly then. It's gone very quiet on that investment front.
Yeah, look, these things take a lot of time to come to fruition. You know, from reports to actual confirmation, it could take months and months. There's a lot of things you have to trawl through before you can get investment. You know, your books and this, that, and the other. And it might be a case of they looked at it and it got leaked, but actually nothing's going to come from it. Or we hear at Christmas or whenever, yes, somebody's put money into the football club and off we go. But right now, you know, rather than sort of trying to predict what happens with the football club, I think we just have to go with what we've got right now and just hope that it comes off and that we do bounce back first time, because I don't want to spend another year in this league, that's for sure.
Yeah. I just hope we don't end up selling the football ground and the training facility, possibly, but can't sell the football ground. Look what's happened to other clubs that have done that, you know. So
yeah, we used to be in that position. Obviously, it was only Top and King Power who bought the stadium. We used to rent it, didn't we? Off, was it Teachers they were called, the company?
Yeah, it was indeed. Yes. Yeah.
But also, let's not forget that Top is still a billionaire. He still has lots of money. Okay, quite a lot of it's in assets and stuff, but he's still a billionaire. You know, he will there's. I don't think he would sell the stadium.
No,
you're more likely to mortgage it. Let's be honest, you get money in that way potentially, but I don't think he'd sell the stadium to somebody else, because again, the statue's out front of his father. Exactly. Why would he sell it?
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
We could definitely do a whole commercial show about this, actually, because there's ways you can go. I mean, we don't want to use Tottenham as the example because they nearly got relegated, but they have a lot of focus on making money via other ways through their stadium, and all the rest of it. It's something the football club could definitely heighten, I think, and get more money in. That's another way to bring direct money to the football club while that stuff's under your actual asset ownership.
Yeah, and they might even just say, look, the investment here is that you give us the money to build the hotel and the new sort of shop that we're looking for. Maybe not the stadium extension that comes afterwards, but the hotel and this, that, and the other. And then you take higher profits from that. We take a little bit, but you take the rest of it, and that's how they make the money back. So, there's a lot of things we can do.
Yeah, that would be the perfect thing to buy, wouldn't it? Because that land's just stood there at the moment.
Exactly.
Did you know, Steve, that we are going to be playing Bristol Rovers in the third pre-season friendly?
We are, and I've already made preparations with work to travel down on the 14th. So they are paying for my hotel. I mentioned
that because it's still the main news item on LCFC.com.
Yeah. It's a bit of a strange one with the fixtures, because the Burton Albion fixture, right? The fact that we are playing against a team that we are going to be playing in the leagues just screams to me that they sorted that out way before we got relegated, and then they've gone, oh shit, because I don't think we've ever done that before. We've come up against, other than maybe the Premier League, but not in like Championship. So it's sort of the level that we'd look at every year, and then we've gone, fuck, we're now at that level.
It's interesting. We always play Burton, don't we? Maybe we've got a 10-year agreement.
I was going to say multi-year deal. Maybe we set up with them or something. Yeah.
Anyway, Steve, thanks so much for popping on, mate.
No worries.
Say, this doesn't go through now, we're going to look like real stupid fuckers, but it's on.
No less than usual, Chris, for this.
Well, that is very true. That is very true.
It is done. Like, I know it's done. It's been signed. But I just think he's coming in for more photos, or he was meant to do it yesterday, but I don't know what happened. But yeah, it is done, Chris. So you've got nothing to worry about.
Said it's done then. He's probably putting his makeup on.
Yes, yeah. It's clown makeup.
Yes, and I just hope he brings his wife with him.
Well, yeah, but look, I'm looking forward to the first game of the season, Chris, where you're screaming about 4-3-2-1 again. You know,
I won't be out. My eyes will be elsewhere.
oh no, is it 4-3-1-2? No.
It's general pet ball. It's general pet ball he doesn't like, Steve. So
4-2-3-1.
irrelevant of the formation.
No. I mean, if there's a very nice lady sat in the director's box, I may be distracted. Who knows? I might have to come and see if I can get a ticket as well. Steve, mate, thanks very much.
No
have
worries.
a good night. And
Have a good evening.
It's his foot, isn't it? Hope you're all right at A&E.
Yeah, it should be fine. Well, who knows? It's been a right nightmare. Oh well, here we are.
Appreciate you coming on, mate. All the best.
No worries. No.
Take care. Bye bye. All right. Let me make you big. There you go. Yeah, he I don't know what he said. What he did, didn't he? He stuck his toe or something.
Yeah, I'm going to say first for the comedy effect. As soon as he heard about the Russell Martin thing, he kicked a cabinet and broke his toe. So just to get that out there, Steve. I mean, we'll create an urban legend about you there, mate.
Excuse me, that's brilliant, mate. That is brilliant. I don't want to make him I don't want to worry him too much, but I do have a mate down here in Bournemouth that he always had trouble with his feet. He walked with a stick, and one day by accident he kicked his bed. You know, the big springs, and he had his foot and the bottom half of his leg taken away.
Oh wow! From sepsis was it on the after?
Yeah, it was
effect?
indeed. Yeah, it was indeed. Yes.
Yeah. Dangerous world we live.
It was a good thing. Yeah, he's fine. I mean, he handled it very well, to be honest with you. He doesn't go out drinking anymore because he's already legless. And, hey, he says those jokes. It's not just me.
I love people like that. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, he's totally. I mean, he's really done it very well. But that's by the by. If you're listening, mate, good on you. Good on you. Right, shall we get back to to Russell Martin?
Yeah.
So we were going down these, weren't we?
We were, yes. And get your thoughts in the chat as well, guys. Nice to see so many of you here. So keep popping your thoughts in on this, obviously, Chris?
Yeah. And look, if you want to come on, the link, just scroll up the links there. And like Paul did, just come on and give us sort of 30 seconds of your thoughts on this.
Yeah, good to hear from you, Paul. Glad you're good, mate.
Yeah. Lots of possession, not always enough penetration. Can struggle to break down deep defensive blocks.
Yeah, we're going to face a lot of that, aren't we? So once again, that comes back to what we're saying about look, the playing squad is going to have to be right for this next year, isn't it? Because otherwise, yeah, it could be a little bit like we do need those little blue pills to get going, Chris.
Yes, yeah. The next one there, the last one on that side is, can appear tactically stubborn. But is there not a thin line between sticking to your principles and being stubborn? It is a thin line, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it definitely is, Chris. I mean, but like I say, he's very public about his love for pet ball, you know, and all the rest of it. So it's not a surprise really that he wants to play in that way. And you'd also argue, look, you know, like for any manager who wants to get to the top of the game, and I will say, there's no doubt in my mind, Russell Martin wants to be a world-class manager one day, because he's not one of these managers that will accept being a lower league manager for all of his life. He's obviously got ambition, right? Vincent Kompany did this at Burnley, didn't he? You know, he played this sort of pet ball, and it didn't quite translate in the Premier League as it did in the Championship, but ultimately it opened up a door to get to Bayern Munich, didn't it? Because Bayern Munich could see what he was trying to do. So no, I kind of get that. I mean, like for us, where we are right now, like I personally would prefer a bit more pragmatic of an approach, especially what we're working with. I think that is the more safer approach, especially with the fans' opinions on this being very divided. But like Steve said a minute ago, you know, it's about, look, I'll back him because, you know, like if we get it right, it can work. I mean, it's time that Southampton proved that can be the case. The concern is, will the club be able to do that around him as well, of course?
But what I meant, I don't know who it was you I mentioned this to, or it could have been Reece or Clibbo. My head's all over the place with football at the moment. But do you think? Look, we always say with players that that's their level, you know, and sometimes a player whose level is League Two cannot get up any higher than that because that's where they are. And I honestly think it's the same with, I'm just showing Russell Martin winning the playoff trophy. But I think it's the same with managers as well. So I would not have been totally against Scott Parker coming.
No, similar
But
thing with the defence focus.
yeah, I wouldn't want him in the Premier League.
Well,
Apart from this season, Daniel Farker, he could get teams up, but I wouldn't. I would have had him, but not in the Premier League. Although he's done all right with Leeds this season. Vincent Kompany got them straight up, not in the Premier League. So is that also the same with managers? Having said that, I think they have their level as well.
Well, I think a lot of it is going to be dependent on, the variables. And what I mean by the variables is that, it's not just a case of we won't be able to attract a very good player, because if you look at us historically, like, and other clubs do this as well, we picked up Riyad Mahrez from, like, a club in the middle of nowhere, they're beating for £250,000. A lot of it is about the scouting. A lot of it is also the head coach thing I've talked about, right? Which is what Russell Martin is being coined as so far. It's about how you develop those players, and we've got good players. What is their ceiling? When KDH came into the first team, would you have said, oh, he's going to be a top class Premier League midfielder? Back then, you can't see it. It's about the coaching and the development of them, isn't it? And you would hope actually that if you get these things right and these things in place, I think the thing the club has got wrong is they haven't really brought in the right sort of character profile of player on the right, on the right occasion. I think we've sort of forgotten that character side of it that Steve Welsh brought into the club when he was the head scout, and that's as much a big part of it as the skill, because the character can increase the skill because of the work rate and desire to do well, right? So I think, no, it is possible, and it would be possible, say, in a world where I think this is what the football club would want. We get promotion this year from League One, and then we're fighting for promotion next year in the Championship. And the way you do that is the foundation of who you bring in this year, developing those players and making them the best versions of themselves they can be, and it obviously as helpful to the football club as they can be as well. Then you can follow it through. I mean, look at Sunderland this year in the Premier League. They did remarkable things, and a lot of those players were in the Championship, and you probably write off as going, oh, I'm not sure they're going to be good enough for the Premier League, but it was about developing them and getting them better. So it's not an exact science, but yeah, from what you're saying, if you can bring in better players, it is better, but this is what the football club in the position we're in has to get right.
It is. And also as well, when you mentioning Sunderland there, for me, it's all about next season with Sunderland. Because there's a lot of clubs. Well, I'd say every club, when they come up, they're either going to stay up or go down. That's fucking obvious. I'm stating the obvious there. That's a no shit Sherlock comment. But when a team gets promoted, quite often there's that, oh fuck, what they're doing, how are they playing, what they're doing. Who would have ever said Blackpool would have been top of the Championship, top of the Premier League? They were for a week.
Yeah, second season syndrome, isn't it? That's what they call it. It happens to Sheffield United.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't think of it. But they did end up going down. But there's a lot of clubs that come up that really sort of start off well because there's such a surprise package, and then go down and end up going back down. So it'd be interesting to see what Sunderland. I hope they stay up, because I like to see different teams in the Premier League.
Well, I hate to say this, they need to do what Forest did. They need to go out now and try and bring in players and go, we're an established Premier League club. I mean, bringing in people like Murillo and Milinkovic for Forest made a massive difference, didn't it? Unfortunately for us, but it did. There's a great point from Mr. Fox favourite there, which quickly, if you don't mind, Chris. We might have mentioned this, so they just tuned in, but too much of a financial gamble this is. He won't be coming to League One on the cheap, and he must have been promised a budget. I think that is a lot of the worry, Chris, isn't it, with the fan base, because it is a 3-year deal plus maybe an additional add-on one. And if it goes wrong like it did at Rangers after a few weeks, and obviously the fans want a pretty low threshold right now of patience as it is going to cost a lot to change that, because at Rangers, obviously, he didn't just walk away. He would have stayed there until literally he was kicked out the door, which you can understand from the financial side of it, can't you? So, I think that is the main worry for me going into this. I mean, what about you?
I don't think he's going to be on as much as everybody thinks he is. This guy's stock is pretty low at the moment. Because look at the way we're all talking about him, oh, look what he did at Southampton. And let's be honest with you, Southampton made us look good, and we were fucking awful, and they made us look good. Rangers, on the outs, I still say on the surface, it looked bad, but then when you look into it, he didn't actually lose a game. It was just expectations at Rangers. So I don't think he'd be on that much. And sometimes a manager, let's have a look. How often does a player not make it, drops down a league, and then comes back. Steffi Mavididi, didn't really do it at Arsenal, went abroad, came back and looked like he was going to be fantastic for us, and probably was for one season. And I think sometimes it's a bit like that with managers. I mean, why did Brendan come to Leicester? I mean, Brendan would have had the whole choice of jobs that he could have gone for around the world, but he wanted to get back in the Premier League, and he saw that, well, if I go to Leicester, who'd got a bit of a reputation because we'd obviously just won
we had a good squad then as well. A good squad. Well, was underperformed with them.
If I go to Leicester, do you know what? I can actually reinvent my career, if you like. And then he would have got a better job. All right, it ended up going bad. Russell Martin, I think, is probably a little bit of that. Where am I going to go? And look, whenever you look at Leicester, and look, we are in the shit at the moment, but as a project, it's a fucking good project.
Yeah, it is a big club. It is a big club.
50 million in a year training complex, 30,000 seat stadium, one club county. There's a lot going for Leicester. And, you've got to look at it and go, yeah, it's actually not a bad job. I could be the one that could turn it round. And if I do, and I get promoted, all right, I'll get my bonuses. And somebody said, well, I can see him leaving. Well, if he is leaving and he's not being sacked, if he does do an endo, it's because he's doing well with us.
I think you could definitely argue, say, for example, Lincoln City at the bottom of the Championship and they sacked their manager at Christmas. Russell Martin wouldn't go for that job over Leicester, with all due respect, because you'd argue. Remember when Eddie Howe left Burnley to go back to Bournemouth? He went from the Championship to League One, didn't he, with Bournemouth? Because he saw where Burnley were, and Burnley was struggling financially then. They didn't have a pot to piss in, did they? But Bournemouth actually were improving, really, and doing a lot better.
I think, in fairness with that, it's probably more... Well, it's not probably. It is more the fact that you haven't settled in the Northwest.
Well, yes, of course, there is that. Yes, and that's a very good point.
Bournemouth, he came from Bournemouth to go to Burnley.
But what I'm saying is we don't really have to fear probably anything apart from top-end Championship jobs. Okay, if Burnley needs a new manager and they're in 7th place in the league and it's January and he was linked, I think we would have a concern. I think that would be a different thing, right? I think there is something that I do think, unfortunately, he probably is being paid a whack, because I have a lot of faith in his agent being very good at his job from how we've seen things unfold. I think his agent must be incredibly good at playing the media, for one, because of how things come together around Russell Martin. A lot of managers, it doesn't seem to go that way. And a credit to them for that. It's a backhanded compliment for me, obviously, but kind of credit to them for that. And I think it's interesting because there is a perception, arguably, that he would still probably feel he can do a Championship job, and there's that interest there. So maybe there is that feeling from his side of things that it is a step back, and that's probably financially going to be covered by the football club. So I think it could be the worst case scenario of that. We just got to hope, obviously, that he wins games of football.
The other thing you got to look at as well is, let's say you went to Lincoln, and let's say you got Lincoln promoted to the Premier League. I'm not being horrible to Lincoln here, but do you think they would stay in the Premier League?
It'd be very unlikely, because they'd be like Luton Town size, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Where if he does that with Leicester, and Leicester decide to keep him, he could. I think we are, as a longer term project, you could see Leicester being back in the Premier League maybe for another 4 or 5 year run or something like that.
It's the same as if you were trying to buy a football club right now. The first one on the list for me would be Sheffield Wednesday. I know they got a bit of debt and all the rest of it, but they get 40,000 in the stadium most weeks.
Another one. Can I just say, it has now been also released on Yahoo News as well.
Hey, Yahoo! Goodness me, I've not used Yahoo since it was 1997.
I know. I didn't even know it was still going, to be honest with you. Oxford United rivals appoint former Rangers boss as Gary Rowett's successor.
Oh, let me make my bold prediction for League One next year. I think Oxford are going to win League One.
What about Leicester?
Oh, we'll get in top 2, maybe. I don't know. See, I don't know, Chris. I'm like you. I don't know. I can literally not emotionally work this out because it could go either way. There's still that big fear in the back of my mind of, have we learned from our mistakes, which seem to be constantly put in the front of our minds of what we got to fix at the football club, or are we still following the same path and we keep slipping? And of course, you've got to take into account that I know other fans hate to hear this, but when you are that big club in the division, other teams are going to raise their game against you. They're going to be playing that little bit more, 10% every day. They're going to defend harder. They're going to make your jobs more difficult. You've got to find a way to get past that in a similar way to how Enzo did when we were in the Championship last time with him.
Channel nothing to do with me, isn't part of my group or anything, but Rangers Till I Die, and it's not Queen's Park, it's Glasgow.
Okay.
They have posted 2 hours ago, Russell Martin has agreed a deal to become the new, again they're saying, head coach of Leicester. Pray for Leicester.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that. Swansea fans have been out and saying good luck to you all. We wouldn't wish it on our worst enemies. There was one Swansea fan famously quoted saying, I wouldn't wish him on Cardiff, which kind of shows you, yeah, which is quite heavy stuff. I mean, so yeah, I mean, look, he's a strong character, I mean, we're going to hope he falls on the Nigel Pearson side of that rather than the opposite end of the scale, which would be disastrous for us, wouldn't it? But hey, I'll tell you what, it's Leicester. It's never boring, is it?
Never boring. We have somebody. He's here. The man, the myth, the legend.
Bring him in for me, Chris. I'll go have another break a minute.
Okay, you go.
Is this something I said?
Well, I think it's just the fact that Tom has got a very weak bladder at the moment.
Wow! Wait till he gets to his 50s.
Oh well, I know. I can go further than that. It gets even worse. It's not just your bladder, I tell you.
Well, that's interesting.
How are you feeling, Clibbo?
Well, look, in terms of his CV, it's unrealistic to think we're going to get anybody better than him. Let's face it, and let's be really realistic about it. He's got the pedigree to be able to get us out of here. There's going to be a lot of fans that don't like his style of football, me included. Am I happy that he's in charge? I'm quite neutral, but I'm going to say no. And the reason I'm going to say no is not from a football perspective. It's the fact that his style of football is going to irritate fans. He's putting himself in a cauldron where he has to get it right immediately. The fans are so divided, and I think this creates further division, whether we like it or not. And I think that's something that some of the fans will say, well, after all that's gone on with Top and the King Power, this is the last straw. Now, rightly or wrongly, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I think it's a mistake from that perspective. And I think the pressure to get it right immediately is at Mount Everest, and I don't think any manager can come in the situation that we've got and come and immediately turn it round and turn us into a 100-point team.
It's not. It'd be interesting if he does. We'll know it was the players that were shit and not the managers. But we kind of probably know that anyway.
I think it was a bit. I think it was a bit of both in some instances. But for me, it was always a strange thing where whatever manager we got, we played the same system. And I am really going down to the fact that we brought players in to play that system, and that's the way it was. That's the narrative that was pushed. And I know some people don't agree with that, but I do think that was the narrative that was pushed. This is how we want to play. We've already bought these players. We bought them for that specific style or variations on that theme, and that's the way we want it.
We were saying earlier, then if that is his preferred formation, there's three formations there that he plays, then he needs to buy the players that will fit that formation. Like we said, you don't go and buy Patson Daka, who scored all his goals when he was two up front with Erling Haaland, and then play him as a lone striker. You play the players that are going to work in that position you want them to.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is I was listening while I was, in inverted commas, working.
Yes.
And about the fact that I can't remember whether it was Steve who said it or whether it was Tom, but the fact that Suter won't fit this system, and it's ironic, really. We're trying to get rid of Vestergaard. If you were going to pick one of the two to play that system, you would have to say Vestergaard, wouldn't you?
You would, I agree. But if you had to pick, who would you sooner have, without thinking formations or what have you, who would you sooner have? I would probably have to say Suter, and I think he's probably the better player.
He is, but again, he's got a very specific set of skills that would have been very important for us this season.
His wife's not been kidnapped, has she?
He's been taken. Yeah.
Yay! Boom, boom. That was on last night.
Oh, it's a great film. But the problem for me is that if you look at the players that we potentially want to keep, do they really fit the system that he wants to play, or are they adaptable enough? That will only be answered in time, obviously. But I do think that the expectation of the club and of from the fans is to get promoted. Yeah. I'm going to lay it on the line and say if we don't finish first, I think if we finish in the playoffs, I think it's a failure. I genuinely think that, given even with the mountainous amount of jobs that have to be done, I think that a club that's experienced the highs that we have and the experience that we've got, not to be able to put this right in a division that's absolutely shocking. I mean, all right, it's got a little bit more professional than it used to be when we were probably back in that league, but it's shocking. And it shouldn't take too much to be able to negotiate your way around that, given the funds that we will have compared to most of the teams. A half decent manager should get you out of that top two. But like I said the other day, if we finish top two, if we finish second, it's the lowest league position in our football history. And that does not sit well with me particularly.
Does it, though? Sometimes do you think you need to take one step back to take two forward?
Well, we've already done that, Chris.
Well, we have, but we're still in the position of taking that step back.
Well, it would be not. It wouldn't be one step. It wouldn't be two steps back, would it? Or one step back. We've got pissed up at the pub and tried to go down the side door and missed our step in and fell and cracked our head open.
Why do I feel that you're quoting that from experience?
Well, I'll just say it. Yeah, that's happened to me.
Just very quickly, I was in Lanzarote back end of last year.
Never.
I met up with Dean Birchnell, Alan's son, and he was over there, same resort at the same time. So we met up to watch the Leicester game on the telly, and then we watched it, and we lost, obviously. And we went, and then and they stayed, and then went back. The next day. Sat down with the drinks and they came, oh, hi, how you doing? Nice to see you. You know, the waitress. I said, how's your mate? I went, what do you mean? Dean, is he all right? Because he goes there all the time. I went, well, I didn't know he wasn't. Oh, yeah, he was that drunk. He'd had so many these cocktails that he went back on his chair. The chair gave way. He cracked his head open and ended up in hospital.
No. Yeah. I think we've all got one of those stupid stories.
I'm pretty sure it's to the bar in Toronto. I'm not allowed in because of our cocktail consumption one afternoon.
Hence why I have a Friday night and I drink in the house, and I have Friday nights if I'm not working. That's it. Because otherwise, I'll just get myself into bother for longer.
You can make your way to your bedroom no matter how drunk you are, and if you don't, you just fall asleep on the settee, don't you? So
I just lay in bed and put one of these channels on. Sit there with my silk kimono on.
What we'll say to the audience is, this year we'll do an LTiDtv meetup and we'll vlog it, and then we'll put it on YouTube and see the carnage that unfolded.
I just got a vision of you in your sort of just above knee, what did you call it? Kimono, above knee kimono, with a nice dragon on the back, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My backless leather slippers. Oh yeah.
I think, Clibbo, you've raised some really good points there, mate. I wanted to jump out just to go check my washing, Chris. I didn't need a toilet again. Obviously, a lot going on here, but no, you raised some very good points about like how big this appointment is, because, like you rightly said, the falling down, the steps back, have kind of already happened, and those lessons have been put to the front of the football club. And this decision today is a real one which they have to get right. You know, I mean, if you don't get relegated from the Championship and you end up in 12th place, yeah, it's a sidestep, isn't it? And then next year you can go again. The fact you've fallen so far, you've added all that pressure on yourself that you've got to get promoted. You've got to get the club back. So this decision is massive in that, and it carries a lot of weight for that reason. So that's why I can understand why a lot of fans aren't very happy about it.
One thing I will say, sorry.
No,
one thing I will say is that, I mean, I don't know in terms of, I mean, you've both done reasonably high profile jobs, you know, management. And I find that if I'm put backed into a corner, I make my most rational decisions. Now, I think this is the lowest ebb of the club. Maybe this is where Top is being backed into the corner, and maybe he makes the right decisions. It's a shame that it's had to come to this if that is the case. But maybe I'm just playing your game here, Chris, devil's advocate.
Do you? Hopefully, though, he's been taking advice from the new technical director, whatever you want to call him, James Macklin. Hopefully, he's been getting better advice than John Rudkin was giving him. But I just want to ask, so basically, and then I want to get your thought on this, Tom. But Clibbo, you just said then anything other than first is a failure, and Martin's got to go. So if Martin gets,
I never said that. I never said that. You're misquoting me. What I said was first.
I used to work for a newspaper.
Yeah. I said first is what I'm expecting. Second would be the lowest position we've ever finished. I would be disappointed. But I didn't say he should go. I'm going back to a point that was made earlier by one of your callers. Was it James or somebody? I can't remember. Paul, yeah, the guy that couldn't come on camera. What were we saying there? I've gone all funky brain there. Yeah, about if we lost in the playoff final, so that would be 1 year of a 3 year. It's a difficult decision because then you've got to sack the guy and pay 2 years up when he got us to the playoffs. Now, you've got to sort of stick or twist and say, well, that's development. It depends which way you look at it. He'll get us up next time, or you start again with somebody else. It was an interesting point that, you know, if he gets backed, we're going to back him with his players. You've then got to find somebody who's available. I thought that was a really good point. So would I sack him? Me personally, I think it would be a big failure if we only got to the playoffs. If we lost in the playoffs, blimey. I mean, it's bad times, isn't it? So it depends how mad the owners are with him, I guess.
I think it's interesting because I think, like, how do you replace him? Because you've decided to go with a distinct style of football that he's going to be, you arguing, the best candidate to bring for you, right? So unless someone else is available who can carry it on and make certain things better, maybe the man management is what's let it down. We don't know because obviously we're playing devil's advocate for a scenario that hasn't happened yet. I think, yeah, it's a very difficult decision. Now, I'd probably even fall on the side of, if that happened, you're kind of all in already. You've got to go again next year and hope you get the automatics next time around with the same manager. But
I think I agree
that as well. Yeah,
I think I agree with you, Tom.
So, if he, as long as he gets us promoted, then he should be the manager the following season.
Well, absolutely, because I mean, in what job would you know,
football management?
Well, yeah, I know, but that would be down to a personal. That would have to come down to some personal grievances. Which at this stage I wouldn't rule out. I wouldn't rule out there being a kind of, I don't know, a little bit of a divide between management and the owners. Yeah. Just purely on what I've heard about Russell Martin. Now, I don't know the guy personally, so I'm only surmising, but I wouldn't rule that out. But if you get promoted and you promote a team that's desperately needing to get promoted for financial reasons as much as any other, you cannot sack the guy. He's got promoted out of that league previously, all right, via the playoffs against Leeds. So you'd have to say take him in. But like, I think the 3-year deal is perfect because I'm not sure that we'll get back-to-back promotions.
No.
What I would expect is to get out of this league this year, and I would expect no more than 2 years in the Championship. And I think I'm not being unreasonable to expect that as a Leicester fan. And then you look at it again. Maybe at that point he will have learned some valuable lessons, got more experience. Look at the situation again in the Premier League. The Premier League's developing. It's playing different styles than it was 3 or 4 years ago. And hopefully he's got his eye on the ball there. So you just never know. I'm trying to put a positive spin on it, but I do think it's poor from the club at this stage.
Okay, let me throw this bombshell at you. First of all, Tom, and then Clibbo. Yeah, I accept that if he gets us up in second, he should deserve a second season. If he gets us up via the playoffs, then he does deserve a second season. Let's say we're third. And we therefore go into the playoffs. And we're third on goal difference. And we get into the playoffs, and third very rarely goes up, let's be honest with you. It's usually 6 or something. But we lose by a controversial penalty in the playoffs. You know, it was a penalty that shouldn't have been given. And therefore, is he then sacked? Because, you know, he's got us equal with the second place, which was just maybe on the odd goal or here, and then we lose out on a dodgy penalty.
Well, he could be, because let's look at it this way, right? Is an appointment which, on its face value, isn't unanimously supported by the supporters. So if you do end up third and you miss out on going up automatically on goal difference, what we would do naturally as fans then go, oh God, do you remember that game against Bromley away? We drew 1-1. And if we just won that game and we passed around the ball around the back, we'd get frustrated with the idea of how he was playing and go, well, that was probably a reason why we didn't get the job done right. That's kind of how supporters think, isn't it? So, and that would build negative energy to when maybe the club would make a change again, because it's not outside of the realm. That's what they've done before, right? So yeah, no, it's a very interesting adventure we're about to go on for that reason alone. I would just hope, like everyone else, that the best case scenario can unfold, where we give him the players he needs and we have the best squad on paper. I'd argue we want a Championship level mid-table squad in League One, because you want to be able to then carry the momentum on this next season. I wouldn't be particularly happy if we walk League One, for example, and then somehow end up in a relegation battle in the Championship the year afterwards. That would seem like, well, we're kind of stagnant in the middle, won't we? It needs to be a progressive appointment, especially with the 3-year deal, where you go, right, this year promotion, next year we carry on up the table. So yeah, Chris, I think it is very likely what you said. Yeah,
I would argue that at that situation, Chris, that quite a lot of the fans, and probably me as well, would say, well, you shouldn't have finished third.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say that because the other thing I was going to say was, knowing Leicester fans, how pissed off were they when we finished 5th? Yeah, I mean, in the top 4 most of the season. They look at the glass half full situation rather than the half empty situation, rather than looking at the half full one, which is, fucking hell, we're Leicester. We finished 5th. We're in Europe. You know, there's always some naysayer around, isn't there?
I don't think you can progress as a club unless you have that kind of. Listen, I never used to let my kids win at tiddlywinks, right? I have to win, right? That's how I am, right? So I don't buy into this, or the club should be grateful that we finished in Europe that season. We were in those Champions League positions right up until the very end. And so the club gave us that expectation. We were buying into it like we should do. And it doesn't matter that we were Leicester City. We were there on merit. And to lose it at the last, when in your mind you're thinking, we're going to be in the Champions League, people are preparing for trips, the excitement. Of course they're going to be disappointed, and they've every right to be. So no, I don't buy into it, Chris.
And that's interesting, because actually that shows you why the fan base is so divided right now, because I understand that completely and I agree with you, Clibbo, but I also then think two things can be true at the same time. I also agree with the people that went, well, we're Leicester City, 5th place that season and winning the FA Cup was actually really good. Was a real high result. So yeah, I think it's interesting from that perspective, isn't it?
I've got my devil's hat full on here. I'm going for this.
We're getting very philosophical about football here in the football club, aren't we, boys? This is why we're good at this. No, I'm joking.
I'm gonna talk about a manager, Mr. Pearson.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mr.
my
Pearson.
favourite. My favourite.
Got us promoted from League One at the first time. Went up as champions. I think we lost about 2 or 3 games that season, 3 or 4 games. It was It was actually a brilliant season to be a Leicester fan. Just a shame it was in the 3rd tier. Got us back up to the Premier League. Got us to a playoff that season. Got us to the semi-finals, and of course, everybody scratched their eyes, and the goal went in, and we lost to Watford.
Yeah.
Should he have been sacked?
No, because it's different though, because we could see the path of what. No, it is. Well, the Great Escape season is an even better example, Chris. I never called for Nigel Pearson to get sacked in the Great Escape season, even though we were struggling at the bottom of the league. You could see what was happening in the style of football and what he was trying to do. That had correlated from League One to winning the Championship and all the rest of it, these playoff mishaps in between as well. You could see the vision and you could buy into it. That's the interesting about Nigel Pearson and what he did. The interesting about the club's done with this appointment is because of the style of football is that is less likely to be bought into, and then we're seeing that in the reaction from the fans, right? So it makes the job harder. It means you actually then have to just go out there and get those 100 points like we're talking about, right? I think that's the thing. Football is quite what's the word? It's quite deep in that way. It's not quite as black and white in that way, because I very much said that last season when we got relegated, the biggest problem for me wasn't the fact we were terrible. It was the fact that they weren't trying, and it perceived to be the club wasn't trying. People have said in the press, like Danny Simpson, oh, they didn't look to me like I'd be disappointed and very unproud of how the team played around me that year, just because of what they were doing. It just didn't look like they were putting the energy levels in or the passion to do it. So it was irrelevant of the winning and losing. It was about the passion seen on the pitch, right? And I think that's the thing we've lacked at Leicester in quite a while.
Same question to you then, Clibbo.
Go on, ask me the question again.
The question was again, Nigel Pearson got us promoted from League One.
Did.
Got us into the playoffs, which was comparing it to the example that I said before. We lost in the playoffs because we got a penalty that we shouldn't have got. We missed the penalty, which was probably karma. It went up the other end, and of course, Deeney put the ball in. Should Nigel have got sacked at that point?
No. And I'm saying that, and I'm sorry to say this, I was never a real huge fan of him. I'm actually more of a fan of him now.
Calm down, Tom.
That's fine.
But that aside, I never wanted him sacked. What I didn't like about him was I quite like listening to managers talk after matches, and I think he used to shut things down very quickly. He wasn't very. He didn't really like to talk to Radio Leicester that much at the time, did he? And things like that. And it used to get on my nerves. But that's the only reason. But I've listened to him since, and I really like the guy. And I like an old-fashioned kind of philosophy. I don't think he'd do too well now because of the way that the press, you have to do this interview.
I'll come back to you.
No, I wouldn't.
I came up with earlier that was said on Sky that this club is at its lowest ebb ever.
Yeah, but we've had a history. We didn't when Pearson was here.
In our history, we are lower now than we were when we got relegated to this stage before. So, if we look at Russell Martin's coming in, and I cannot have this attitude that we are Leicester City, we are going to win this, because that was the attitude that a lot of fans had when we came down to the Championship, and my God, we got our arses burnt, didn't we? Even without those 6 points deducted, we'd have still gone down, goal difference, I grant you. So that one, we can't blame it on those 6 points. We just basically were shit. We were not good enough. So this thing that we're going to come straight back up because it's Leicester, look at the kids we've got, look at the stadium and the training ground and all this and League One shit. No, it's not guaranteed. So what I'm saying is, if we look at the season as a whole and we can see, well, hang on a second, Russell Martin, he's building something here. He's stripped it right back. And he's done this at MK Don Swansea in Southampton. They've said it says in there, he's rebuilt clubs. And if we can see that he's rebuilding clubs, but it doesn't quite come off for him,
No, I'm not buying it, Chris, and I'll tell you why. And might be a bit controversial. League One is not the division that you rebuild your team. League One is the division you get out of to start rebuilding your team.
But that sounds very much like the fans, and I don't know whether you were saying this at the start of last season. Yeah, we'll walk this division.
No, I didn't. I said if anything other than playoffs will be a disgrace. That's what I said. I had this discussion with Reece just before the kickoffs, and we both agreed under Marty he should have enough to get us in the playoffs. And I said I would be disappointed if we weren't top two. That's what I said. Looking back in hindsight, I think the players were good enough to do it, but their application was, well, shocking is the biggest understatement in the world. And I think the management, the structure of the club was just not geared up for it. And they have to learn lessons. The players have to go to bed at night, and mind you, some of them I don't think they care with the money that they're on, but they shouldn't be able to sleep very well given the just ineptness of their performances.
I'm going to round it up now. We've been at this now 2 hours, 8 minutes, and we could carry on all night. But Tom, I'm going to kind of put the same question to you, because we can't just expect with everything. This club has been in decline, apart from the little Enzo blip when we did well. And let's be honest with you, it was a bit. We nearly cocked that up. Enzo nearly threw that away, but he didn't, and we were looking. We went up. But we've been in decline since that season when PSR affected the fact that Rodgers couldn't go out and buy any new players. PSR around our neck, and since then, and we've gone down and down. Yeah, we had a little bit of an up, but we still went down and down. So there's no guarantee in my eyes that suddenly that whoever comes in is going to wave a magic wand and we're going to win it and win the Virtua Trophy or whatever it's called and go up. So if we don't, but we can see what Russell Martin's trying to do, we can see that suddenly, the team's playing well. And remember, there's no bloody VAR in this league either. So we could end up on the back end of some really, really bad decisions that is nobody's fault. And I don't get me wrong, I don't want VAR in this league, but it's. I still think then if he doesn't get us up, if we can see that he's going in the right direction, he has to, like with Nigel Pearson when he lost that playoff to Watford. Yes, we had to stick with him because we wouldn't have done what we'd done the following season if we hadn't got into the playoffs under him. And I just think if we can see that the club is going in the right direction with Russell Martin, he should be given more time. And that's where the 3-year contract comes in.
Yeah, no, I think you do have a point, but I think we got to get a long way down the line for that to happen, because I think you've got to look at it in the way of, look, right now, Russell Martin is a bit of a divisive character. People who have managed had him as manager at other clubs have come and basically warned us and said, oh, good luck and all the rest of it. I mean, there's unfortunately a bit of a reputation there, and why ultimately your reputation, you can change by how you act. And like Clibo said, has he improved as a manager? Has he evolved as a manager? Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately, Chris, it will come down to, will the fans get on side with him? And if he does get the team playing in a way where, say, for example, we're playing possession-based dominant football, but we're going out there and winning some games 3-0, 4-0, and then we don't quite make it at the end, then that is something that after the course of 46 games in a season, the fans will be behind, absolutely. The worry we have right now is that we don't really see that happening because of the history, right? So that is where he's starting from a lower ebb than someone else might be. So, I think it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. I think it is possible, but I also think if he doesn't make that connection with the fans, and say, for example, it's a lot of 1-0s, a lot of draws, and a lot of struggle, I think there's less likely to be that support to carry over into a second go with him, isn't there?
I get what you're saying, Clibo, though. I mean, if it's 1-0 or 6-0, it's still only 3 points at the end of the day, although it obviously helps your goal difference. But are we hanging this guy before he's even had a trial?
Yes, we are, but ultimately that's the club's fault. He's a divisive character. He plays football that majority of the fans, I would say, or at least 50% of the fans, don't want to see at this club anymore. What the fans want is out of this division. He's been brought in on a 3-year deal with a project, but that very first, I'm telling you, the conversation will be, you have to get us out of this league. So there is maybe some compromises to be had there, but there's also that danger that he starts this development process in the dirge of what is League One and playing pretty football and developing the odd player here and there, and you don't get out of that division. Now, you were speaking to Steve earlier, and I think Steve pretty much said the same. You know, we are in trouble if we're in this division for more than a year. Now, being in that division again for another year derails everything, because all of a sudden Russell Martin's going to, I'm not spending another year in this shit league, and he could be off. You are then losing your best talents again without using them in the league that I think you can develop them in, which is the Championship.
Get him devil's advocate hat on. If we sack him, even though he gets us 7th or whatever, because I mean, I know it's all changing next year with the playoffs. We sack the manager. Here we go. We're starting again. I mean, Steve Cooper was condemned. He was down. We dug his grave and put him in it before the ink was dry on his contract. You know, the fans were, we don't want him here. Now, I'm not saying that he would have kept us up. We will never know that. But Ruud van fucking Nistelrooy was a hell of a lot worse than Steve Cooper was.
However, he would have been better this season than any of the managers we had. In my opinion.
I think this ties back to a good point that Faladaf's put in the chat there. Why do any of us have any faith that will happen with the people involved? And that's the bottom line of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a lack of faith in the ownership that has got us to this point where a lot of things are going to be questioned. And I mean, this has been a 2-hour show, and we've had everything under the microscope.
It's been a 2-hour show.
yeah, I know. We've been talking every angle about this, you know, and like, I don't think I've actually been particularly scathing. There's a lot of people who will go on shows in the near coming days and probably will be a bit more scathing, right? But I kind of understand both sides of it. But yeah, no, I think it's interesting from that perspective, isn't it? Sorry, Clipper, you were going to say something, bud.
No. I mean, I don't use the word faith. I think it's a useless word. I have confidence, a level of confidence built on the evidence that I see.
Yeah.
So I don't use the word faith because I think it's useless.
I think we're in a bit of a category of faith, aren't we? Which is probably proving your point of that's what the concern is. Because, like you say, I think logically you would argue, yeah. I mean, from my perspective, I look at Leicester City and go, I think with the last few years, we've basically been a parody of a football club. That's the most scathing thing I can say probably about how I think it has been. I think the ideas and what people are seeing inside the thing has been quite blinkered. I think actually the fans have taken those blinkers off and gone, oh, well, we could do a Luton Town and get relegated because we seem to be so, you know, focused on this thing. And it's also an appointment that once again suggests blinkers might be on. I mean, that's what's going to make it interesting, isn't it? Because it's got to work.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting season. Somebody said earlier, I can't remember who it was, I do apologise, it's never boring watching Leicester, is it?
You know what will happen at the end of this season? Russell Martin will get us promoted and there'll be a scandal somewhere off the pitch and he'll get sacked. That's the Leicester City way.
Isn't it just? As long as we don't go to that place in Spain again.
No, we can't go to the again. It's on the
La Manga. That was it. La Manga. We can't go that
3 times we had problems at the Manga, didn't we?
Or he gets us promoted, does really well, 110 points. Martin O'Neill leaves Celtic, and Celtic appoint him. Imagine that.
Wow. It is
a good point. Good point for the style of football he plays. Who's the first one to replace him afterwards?
If somebody comes in and takes him, that will only mean one thing: he's doing well.
Yeah, I mean, and compensation for us.
Exactly. Right, well, I am going to go and need to do what I was doing at the time when all this broke out, which was be in the toilet.
And throughout this entire show, the club still hasn't. Oh no, we just maybe got it posted now, guys. Let me check if we can just end this on the official announcement.
Then it hadn't come up then.
No, I just
That
got Jack. I just got Jack's come up. You know, Jack obviously posts stuff as well, doesn't he?
Yes.
Over on it.
Yeah.
His came up.
Everybody's going. I mean, there was another Leicester channel that actually went with it yesterday morning. That it was all done and dusted. Like I say, if it does fall through, we're all going to look fucking stupid. So I don't know. That probably sums us up, really. I think
I think the ink's dry. I think it's it's the Leicester way, in it. They were, they're probably getting him wearing the news shirts.
You're Clippo, aren't you? Steve said that they were waiting for him to come down to have his photographs taken.
Yeah, I think that's all it is. The club piss about, don't they? That's the only term you can use.
They do. So it is Martin. I'm of the opinion he wasn't what I wanted, but I've got to say, Reese convinced me that he would be actually a good appointment.
Yeah, I think Reese did a good job on. I have to say, he did a good job of turning my opinion into neutral. I'm neutral on it, but I'm not going to hang the guy before he's really. When all's said and done, to be serious.
Exactly. I'm neutral like you guys as well. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I did the show and I said to Reese, I said, it'd be a good chance to us to both have something we agree on. And then he messaged me about 2 hours later, went, oh, I might have a different view. And I came on, and like, fair play, Reese, fair play. You convinced me anyway. Guys, will you do all that for us? Will you subscribe, like, share, hype, and click the notification bell? If you have subscribed, because I've seen a lot of new people in the chat, and it means you've had to subscribe to chat. Please don't unsubscribe when we finish. Click the notification bell, because the shows are literally all over the place at the moment with the World Cup. We don't know when they're coming and when they're going, and obviously all these sort of things are happening at the moment. So click that notification bell. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Clibbo, thanks for coming on. Tom, thank you for being here for over 2 hours with me. Appreciate it, mate. And we'll see you all. Who knows? Who knows for Leicester? We'll see you on the other side, as they say. Good night, guys. Have a good night.
That's it for another show. And from all the team at Leicester Till I Die TV, thanks for watching, listening, and getting involved. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another show. Memberships are also available. Check out the link in the description below. So until next time, Foxes fans, remember, keep the faith and keep it Leicester till I die.